Take all of your preseason expectations and throw them out the window because we have no idea what's in store for us in the 2025 college football season. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman right now with our Week 1 grade release show. Here on this show, we will be releasing all of the PFF grades for all of the biggest games of Week 1, go over the stat that told the story in all of these Week 1 games, the most impressive part of all these Week 1 games, really just all-encompassing Week 1 review, Dalton. And right now, you and I are national champion picks. You picked Alabama to win it all. I picked Clemson to win it all. They're a combined 0-2 to start the season. Clearly, we don't know ball.
The mistake we really made, we picked against the great Lee Corso, and that's probably the worst thing we could have done, of course, because that guy's forgotten more ball than we can remember. Absolutely. I mean, look, we get to Week 1 now, and it just shows you, again, the roller coaster that college football is. Everything you think you know on a weekly basis, even right when you think you have it, it's all out the window. And it's just, again, I know I called last year the season of chaos, but it really is every year in college football. And the upsets especially that we're getting. There's very few things here that went just as expected as we thought, but that's the nature of college football right there. It's just the fact that you have no idea what you're getting week to week, and it starts right away in Week 1. Just unbelievable stuff.
That is always the funniest part about college football and us breaking it down for what? We start our preseason breakdowns in February, right? So we've been doing this for 6 months now, previewing this season. We think we know everything to know about every team going into it, and then you watch the games and you remind yourself, oh yeah, these are 18 to 22-year-olds playing football.
Oh sure, I mean,
it's just you have no idea.
And it so often just comes down to maybe a slight lack of execution, or just that one big mistake that turned the game around, or just maybe in a couple of these games we had one big injury that really turned the tide. Right, I think you just have those little things, and the little things when it comes to teaching college teams, especially college teams with some of them with so many transfers in and things like that. You're getting all these new players all the time. You still have to go on a field and execute for 60 minutes, and there's some teams here that didn't do that to the expectation that we thought.
So clearly we don't know ball, but the graders at PFF do know ball, and we're going to break down all of the grades from them today. And also want to remind you guys, a PFF Plus subscription if you want to see all of these grades for not only these games, but every game in college football. It's available to you guys right now at subscribe.pff.com. You also get access to the best fantasy tools on the planet and the best betting tools on the planet. And, of course, access to all the grades and analytics that every single team in college football uses, from the FBS level to the FCS level, even some D2 and D3 schools, and also every single team in the NFL uses too. And you get access to our 2026 NFL mock draft simulator. Trevor Sikkema, our lead draft analyst, is a sicko. He has over 250 players ranked already in that mock draft simulator. So go check it out right now at subscribe.pff.com. Let's go to the biggest game, not only of Week 1, but maybe the biggest game of the entire regular season. That was number 3 Ohio State, the defending national champion, taking down the preseason number 1 team in Texas. The first time ever Texas entered the year as the number 1 team in the country. It only lasts 1 week because Ohio State beat them 14-7. Start off with the highest graded players from the victorious Ohio State Buckeyes. First up is their cornerback, Jermaine Matthews Jr. with an 80 grade. Linebacker Sonny Styles up next, 73.1. Wide receiver Carnell Tate, 72.5. Running back C.J. Donaldson, 72. Jalen McClain, the safety, 71.6. And Julian Sayin in his debut as Ohio State's quarterback with a 70.5 PFF grade. Let's go over to Texas with their highest graded players in the loss. Starting off with defensive tackle Alex January, 83.4. Running back Trey Wisner, 80.7. Tight end Jack Endries, our guy, 77.3. Leona LaFau, the linebacker, 75. Trevor Gooseby, 73.9. This one's going to stir up a lot of controversy. Arch Manning, 76. Now, I think, Dawn, I should start here because Arch Manning, people are going to look at that and say, how on earth does Arch Manning get a 76? Is it because his last name gets a boost because of that? Arch Manning in the first 3 quarters was really bad. Arch Manning in the fourth quarter was really freaking good. Arch Manning, though, in the first 3 quarters had a 43 .1 passing grade. He was 9 for 15 for 38 yards and an interception, only 2.5 yards per attempt. His mechanics looked off. He just looked uncomfortable overall in the first 3 quarters. I also was pretty unimpressed by Steve Sarkisian's play calling in this game. It was pretty vanilla, I thought, for most of the game until the very, very end. And then it took really 3.5 quarters for he and the Texas offense to show any signs of life. But when it did, he looked really good. In fact, a 91.3 passing grade in the fourth quarter alone with 4 big-time throws in the final 8 minutes. He had 132 yards and a touchdown in that fourth quarter. What I will say about Arch Manning is, yes, for most of the game, he wasn't great, but you got to calm down. This is his first ever big start, I will say, in college football against the defending national champion in a road environment. And this is a Texas team, really, on offense that is very young. 4 new starters on the offensive line. Brand new set of weapons for Arch Manning to throw to, considering all the losses they had last year. And don't forget, C.J. Stroud, when he was the Ohio State quarterback back in 2021, his first year as the quarterback, he didn't play well in the second game of the year against Oregon. Everyone wanted C.J. Stroud benched after that game. And look at him now. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying Arch Manning will be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL as of right now, but I'm just saying give it time. Listen, it was a tough week 1 game. He really bounced back in the fourth quarter with an incredible fourth quarter. Honestly, it just wasn't enough for Texas to win this game. That is the set to the story. Those Arch Manning in the first 3 quarters wasn't very pretty.
And what's funny is that, especially with that fourth quarter surge, that for the most part, you look at Texas offensive numbers against Ohio State's, and on paper, they have the advantage here. And to me, I think it just shows you how frustrating this game is for Texas, especially with as well as their defense played. Their defense played a spectacular game, only giving up 14 points. Even the touchdown catch from Carnell Tate was contested. He made a miracle catch on it. Texas run defense was spectacular up front, I thought. And then you just look at the biggest moments in this game, and this is so often where Ohio State won, especially on defense last year. My stat that tells the story, you look at Texas going 1 for 5 on fourth down, and the last 4 of those, to me, kind of encapsulate everything that happened with this Texas offense. Their first drive of the game, they're driving into Ohio State territory, 4th and 2, C.J. Baxter gets stuffed. There was a failed quarterback sneak on the Ohio State 1-yard line in the third quarter, one of those patented goal line stands that we saw so often last year against Nebraska, against Penn State, in the playoff against Texas. We saw it again there. The throw that he made, maybe his best throw of the day in the back corner of the end zone on fourth down with about 8 minutes left. That ball, look, really good coverage, could have been caught, would have been contested, just didn't happen. And then even on the last drive, he misses the throw on 3rd and 5. He comes back with a completion, but Caleb Downs is all over Jack Endries for the tackle short in Ohio State territory. They couldn't finish drives even when they had momentum, right? They had a hard time creating explosive plays. And let's be honest, Ohio State, and especially the way they played yesterday, Caleb Downs leading the charge. This might be the best secondary in the country. It's at least got an argument. Jermaine Matthews was fantastic. Davis and Igbinosun was good. You got some other guys that are playing really well in the back end. And Matt Patricia called an absolutely great defensive game. So I think when you look at this game, for as much as, yes, for 3 quarters, Ohio State dominated sort of in a defensive sort of way, a game this close to the vest still came down to big moments. And the handful, half dozen of big moments in this game, Ohio State won those moments.
Yeah, that goal line stand, especially when Arch Manning could not sneak it in on fourth down, that was probably the biggest play of the game.
Absolutely. And it's just the way that Ohio State, their defense operated so many times last year. It was just they make you fight for every single inch that you're going to earn. And for this game, I look, and I know there's 2 new quarterbacks and 2 really good defenses in this game, but for this game to finish 14-7, that's unreal in a game of this magnitude, right? And Ohio State, it just felt like their defense was constantly going to make this stand, and they did it just like last year, even with a brand new defensive line, some new pieces. They did it again, and it looks so much like all of those efforts last year from Ohio State's defense.
Absolutely, and one of the stars of that defense was Jermaine Matthews Jr., one of the new corners they're starting this year opposite of Davis and Igbinosun. And yes, Drake Holiday in the chat makes a good point. He did give up the 1 touchdown on the day against Texas, but other than that, he was spectacular. Really, in his second career start for Ohio State with Denzel Burke now drafted by the Cardinals, 84.6 coverage grade. He had a pick and 2 pass breakups on 4 targets. Also a defensive stop in this game. Only surrendered a 50% completion rate overall in this game. So yeah, he did give up a touchdown, but outside that touchdown, he was lights out against Texas. Ohio State's secondary was easily, in my opinion, the best unit on the field in yesterday's game. Nobody was getting open, it seemed like, for Texas yesterday, and Jermaine Matthews was the star of that. His development is absolutely massive because we know Caleb Downs is the best safety in college football, probably the best defensive player in college football. We know Igbenogsis is a very good corner. One of the question marks, at least for Ohio State, was will someone step up, whether it be Jermaine Matthews or maybe a true freshman in Devin Sanchez, who played a little bit yesterday too. Matthews looked excellent at the other starting outside corner spot. And Ohio State right now looks like it may have one of the best secondaries in college football once again.
Their secondary was the best unit in this game, front to back. I mean, again, a couple of mistakes in the fourth quarter late, but they played just absolutely lights out football yesterday. And enough. Look, there hasn't been enough conversation. Look, it all surrounds Arch Manning. He's the name. He's the guy in the commercials, all that stuff. But Texas receivers did not get open at all. Yes, they just did not get even the catches they made. You look at the tight window throws that Manning had to make late in the game, the touchdown to Livingstone, the big catch down the left sideline on the last drive to Jack Endries.
Eli loves that, yeah.
Absolutely. We know. It's just one of those things where Manning, it wasn't just him. It was not just Arch Manning that is to blame here for the loss. They didn't get open. The Ohio State secondary put the umbrella on this offense. There just weren't that many big plays to be had, and you just felt like Ohio State, even in a low-scoring game, was controlling the pace.
Drake Holiday said he tweeted at Trevor to bump Matthews up in the rankings, but then immediately after you tweeted that, he gave up the touchdown. Still a great game for Jermaine Matthews, though. So overall, should still probably get a boost.
Yeah. No, he still should. Look, you give up one play an entire game, you'll live with
and
that.
Second career start against Texas, and he plays like that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's big for him to step up with Denzel Burke.
And how about a guy making his first career start at quarterback in Julian Sayin? He looked pretty good out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, the numbers are not going to jump off the page. 13 to 20, 106 yards, a touchdown, 70 PFF grade, 88.9% adjusted completion rate. I thought even watching Sayin in the spring game and through some of the video we've seen, I go, this guy is accurate. I think the accuracy is the biggest appeal to him. But I think really what this game is about for Julian Sayin, there are going to be other games where he's got this receiving core and they're not uncharacteristically dropping balls and he's going to tee off. There's going to be games where Julian Sayin tees off. He looks like he's in command of this offense. But I think this is a game where you understand the assignment. I think Ryan Day went to him and went to his entire team and said, this is the type of game we're going to have to play today. We're not going to air it out on this team. We're not the same as last year with Will Howard, not yet at least, right? Julian Sayin's making his first start. You could not have protected a quarterback better than Ohio State did for Julian Sayin in this game, and you couldn't, if you were Julian Sayin, you couldn't have understood the assignment better. Hey, man, go out there. Your defense is playing elite football. Just don't screw it up. The one thing that could kill us in this game is a turnover or some sort of mistake. Go out there and just execute. It's not going to be pretty today. There's days where it's going to be pretty. It's not going to be today. Go out there, play winning football. And on this day for Sayin, 126 and a touchdown, that was winning football. And you can't point to really a single big mistake. There wasn't a single big mistake he made the entire day.
Yeah.
I think Sayin just keeping his composure and Ryan Day getting him to understand what type of game they were going to be in. This was the plan the entire time. This was not like, both defenses are playing great, so let's slow the pace down even more. No, this was prior to the game, guarantee it. Ryan Day said, hey, we're going to make this a slugfest.
Yeah.
We're not going to make this about the quarterbacks. We're not trying to get in a shootout. I don't have the experience at my quarterback spot for that yet. Sayin understood the assignment. Ryan Day, Matt Patricia, everybody involved coaching understood the assignment. Just a spectacularly coached game again, once again from Ohio State, and their quarterback deserves a lot of credit for keeping his composure.
He does too, and also Carnell Tate with an unreal catch for that touchdown. Just a ridiculous double catch there by Carnell Tate, who could be a first-round pick again for Ohio State at wide receiver this year. Before we move on to the next game and everything else, one, is Ohio State's chances of repeating for a national title? How good do you feel about that right now? And two, are you pressing the panic button yet on Texas?
No panic button on Texas because their defense is still great. Texas defense played a spectacular game.
Yeah.
That's first. Their defense is going to give them the floor. The offense needs time. They need reps against a defense that's not Ohio State's.
Yeah.
So they have time. They need to get ready for the bigger games in the SEC. I still wouldn't pick Ohio State to repeat, but their chances just got a lot better because, honestly, you look at their talent level, the way their defense played in this game, and then the rest of their schedule. At this point, with this win in their back pocket, they would have to lose 3 games.
Yeah, and I just don't know where that's happening.
They're not losing 3 games.
No.
Even if you sit there and say
Illinois, Penn State, Michigan, they have to lose all 3. basically.
Pretty much. And honestly, even if you say, okay, again, if you lose 2 of those 3 and they're 10-2 in the Big Ten with this win in their back pocket, no, Ohio State, I know it's week 1, barring some sort of disaster like that, something that just absolutely shouldn't happen, like 12 injuries or some nonsense. I think Ohio State's basically already locked in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
After week 1, I know that's getting ahead of ourselves, and that might be, there's a lot of teams, a lot of their future opponents that might not love that, but they're not losing 3 games.
No.
This was one. If they were going to do it, this was going to be one of the 3. This team, we'll see if they win the Big Ten, them, Penn State, Oregon, all that stuff. Ohio State's going to the playoff.
You look at their schedule, too. I mean, like I said, Illinois, Penn State, Michigan, I believe are the only ranked teams they play right now. I don't think they're losing all 3 of those games. They'd probably win at least 2 of those games.
And the way their secondary played, I know it's a long ways away, and I'm making you nervous. Well, there's going to be a lot of pressure on those Penn State wide receivers.
Oh, they look good against Nevada. I'll just say that.
Yeah, they did. Penn State, good day yesterday. First ever 46-11 game.
I saw it. Yeah, scoregami. It's rare in scoregami for college football. Yeah.
I didn't even know they kept it for college football. I figured
whoever does that is a sicko, and I love him.
That's also true.
That's incredible.
No, this Ohio State, the chances got a lot better with this win because I would say it's whatever the odds are to make for Ohio State to make the playoff now, they're not high enough. It's probably 99%.
They're going to be the number 1 team in the country now. They enter the week at number 3, and they're going to be number 1. And they don't play. They play Illinois October 11th. Like, they're going to be number 1 until at least mid-October.
Yep.
And maybe even longer than
that, too. That Ohio State-Penn State game, we're looking 7-8 weeks ahead. That's going to be a 1 versus 2, isn't it?
It might be.
Most likely, because Penn State they don't have a whole lot. Well, they have the Oregon game. Penn State's got to get through the Oregon game.
Yeah.
But if they do that, that's going to be a 1-2.
I'm with you on both. I think Ohio State, their chances of repeating obviously are much better after this week. But also Texas, I'm not pressing the panic button just yet, but they do have a tough schedule. So Texas is like, okay, you need to basically win all but one of your final 11 games. I would say the rest of the season they have Oklahoma, they're at Florida, they're at Georgia too, they're at home against Texas A&M. So yeah, I mean, It's tougher, obviously, now for Texas, but I'm not pressing the panic button yet. This is a very, very young offense, and we saw that yesterday with Arch Manning and the offensive line and those receivers. It's very young. Give it time, but I'm not pressing the panic button yet on Texas. All right, next up in our review is number 9 LSU taking down number 4 Clemson in the Battle of the Death Valleys, 17-10. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the LSU Tigers. Cornerback Mansour delaying the transfer with an 81.3 PFF grade. Aaron Anderson, the wide receiver, 79.8. Patrick Payton, 74.7, the edge rusher, another transfer here. Braylon Moore, the center, 73.9. Harold Perkins Jr. made a triumphant return with a 72 grade. He was all over the field for the Tigers. And then Garrett Nussmeier with a very solid 75 grade in the victory. Let's go over to Clemson with their highest graded player, starting off with Ronan Hannafin, the safety, 79.4. Stefylen Green, D tackle, 76.3. Olsen Pat Henry, the tight end, 69.3. DeMonte Capehart, 68.8. Peter Wood, 68.1. And Cade Klubnik with a 59.3 grade in the loss for Clemson. Dalton, what was the stat that told the story for you?
It was harder to find one in this game than I thought. And then something jumped out at me with Garrett Nussmeier. And the narrative coming into this game, even from us, was how in the world is LSU going to block Clemson? And I think even they came to the conclusion that we don't need to try to block these guys for 3.5 seconds. Like, that's not going to do us any good. The stat that sticks out for me, Garrett Nussmeier, average time to throw, 2.14 seconds. I mean, what it came down to was LSU, I think they knew they were getting in this kind of game, right? Because we didn't think necessarily it'd be a shootout with Clemson's defense, and then LSU's defense looked a lot better than we thought they would. Some of those names that you just mentioned in that top 5, when you talk about Delane and Patrick Payton especially, and then Harold Perkins coming back off the injury, those are the names you want to see in the top 5 graded players right there. But I think with Nussmeier, the game plan, and it was so well put together, was just get rid of the ball. We're gonna make the rest of this defense beat us. We're gonna not let Peter Woods and TJ Parker beat us. I think they each only had 1 pressure on the night. And again, the grades for LSU's offensive line are going to look really good, and they were good in this game, especially in the run game, at least opening it up for 120 rushing yards. That's a solid number in this game and gives them a little bit. LSU just needs a little bit of balance. Caden Durham, I thought, was really good, but I think the idea with this passing game, I want to get into this, under 2.5 seconds for these two quarterbacks. Garrett Nussmeier, 31 dropbacks, under 2.5 seconds, 66.9 passing grade, getting rid of the ball, getting where it needs to be. Cade Klubnik and Blake Baker, man, I felt like he was bringing a lot of pressure last night. I didn't even realize how much. He blitzed Cade Klubnik 67% of the time.
Damn.
2/3 of the time, Cade Klubnik was getting a blitz. 18 dropbacks, under 2.5 seconds on the time to throw. 34.5 passing grade. And I'm telling you right now, NFL scouts, when comparing these two guys, that's what they're going to look at. Nussmeier had an answer for pressure. LSU had an answer for pressure. And Nussmeier knows, obviously, with the pedigree that he has, and his dad, Doug, was in the stands watching, he knows what the answers are for dealing with that from the pocket, right? He's the less athletic of the two quarterbacks, but he had more answers. Cade Klubnik did not have answers early in the play. His answers were, okay, I got to get out and scramble or make plays outside the pocket. But when you got defensive backs blitzing you, when you got Harold Perkins blitzing you, right? Cade Klubnik's a good athlete, but that's Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
You're not getting away from him, right? Unless the only guys getting away from him maybe are like Lenora Sellers and that category of athlete, right? This was about Garrett Nussmeier from the pocket, honestly playing like an NFL quarterback. And when I watched it again, you know the game that came to mind for me? It's always one that sticks out to me. Let's roll it way back. I'm going NFL here for Super Bowl 49.
Okay.
Patriots-Seahawks. That Patriots team was like the last NFL team to win a Super Bowl with legitimately bad pass protection. And if you remember, right, that's the Legion of Boom. It's Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, a great defensive line, all that stuff. And New England came out with a game plan in that game that was, hey, swing it out. Tom, let the guys do things after the catch. We don't have time to get deep down the field.
Yeah.
We don't have the receivers to beat Richard Sherman and beat these guys down the field. You know what Tom Brady's time to throw in that Super Bowl was?
What?
2.25. This is what I'm talking about. If there's times where you go in with a game plan, and if you don't think your offensive line can protect your quarterback, then your quarterback has to protect himself. Garrett Nussmeier did that at a masterful level in this game, and I'm telling you right now, this is the game, even though it wasn't the flashiest game for him, that NFL scouts are going to look at and go, oh, yeah, he can handle it. Absolutely. I mean, just the level of processing and the answers for pressure, even in a low-scoring game especially, was the difference in this game.
Credit to him and LSU for knowing exactly the kind of game they're getting into. Now I want to jump to my most impressive for a second because I do want to give credit, though, to the LSU offensive line because we said in the preview this is a bad matchup for them considering, we had Clemson as having the best D-line in the country. Peter Woods, TJ Parker, two of the top 10 players in the country. Will Helt coming in from Purdue, really good player at edge rusher too. You see all those D tackles, DeMonte Capehart, Stephon Green. They're very, very good all along the defensive line. And yet LSU, with 4 new starters on that offensive line, still had a 75 pass blocking grade as a team, 83.1 from the interior offensive line. Braylon Moore wasn't beaten once on 34 pass blocking snaps. And again, his assignment was Peter Woods, basically the entire game too. Josh Thompson, another transfer, only allowed 1 pressure on 34 snaps. Tyree Adams, one of the new starters at tackle, only gave up 1 pressure on 31 snaps. And then really want to shout out Paul Mubenga, only gave up 1 pressure on 25 snaps. DJ Chester got hurt early. Paul Mubenga is not supposed to be a starter on this offensive line. So really, an offensive line that is 4 brand new starters, and the only returning starter from last year, DJ Chester, gets hurt early in this game. So really, LSU had 5 new starters on that offensive line in last night's game, and Paul Mubenga played really well despite having to fill in for that. So again, if LSU's offensive line plays like this, and I know Garrett Nussmeier's time to throw is huge in this game too, but they played well enough to win this game too. If LSU's offensive line plays like this and the defense plays like this, Lee Corso, on his way out, might have gotten the national champion right, because all of a sudden you're talking about the LSU Tigers as legitimate contenders, not only to win the SEC, but to win it all this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If they've leveled up on defense, if this is the level of defense they're going to play every week, and they've fixed the problem of giving up so many explosive passes, now we have a different LSU team. Because the last 2 years, they've not missed the playoffs because of their offense. They just haven't made enough stops. They gave up too many explosive plays. My most impressive guy is the transfer cornerback from Virginia Tech, Mansour Delane, their highest-graded player. 8 targets, 1 catch allowed for 21 yards, interception, 3 forced incompletions, 81.2 coverage grade. To go in there, and they're expecting this guy to be their top corner. And obviously the entire secondary, you've got Tamarcus Cooley, you've got A.J. Halsey out there playing, right? Harold Perkins is back playing kind of this now hybrid linebacker slot, that star position, right? and then you're blitzing as much as LSU was in this game, and you still need the coverage behind it to succeed. This is a different – we very suddenly have to start talking about LSU differently than we have been, because we came into this going, look, we know Nussmeier and the offense is good. They're loaded with weapons. Caden Durham's pretty darn good for a true sophomore, right? But the entire reason they haven't made the playoff the last 2 years, their defense. Yeah. That's the best defensive game we've seen them play at more than any game the last 2 years. If that sticks in SEC play, at least most weeks, LSU's they moved up a level here.
You want to hear my stat fill story?
Absolutely.
Clemson, negative 0.316 EPA per play. For LSU, that is the best single game since the 2014 season. That was the first year that we started grading games at PFF at the college level. So our first year, 11 years ago, was the last time that LSU's defense was this efficient. Even games against Group of 5 FCS teams, they were not this good. And against, what in my opinion was the best offense in the country heading into the year, they dominated Clemson in this game. That was their first time being below 0 since 2015, when Les Miles was still the head coach at LSU. Again, we entered this game saying Clemson has maybe a big advantage on offense, considering, again, Cade Klubnik and all those receivers. I know Antonio Williams barely played yesterday with the quad injury or the hamstring injury, but still, LSU's defense really stepped up in this game, and you thought the roles were reversed the way they played, honestly, because Clemson only averaged 4.5 yards per play, 2.9 yards per carry, 6 yards per pass, too. Blake Baker just dialing up those blitzes 70% of the time on Cade Klubnik in that game too. They, last couple years for LSU, that's what held this team back with Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., all the great offense players, Will Campbell obviously too. They should have made the playoff with all those great offensive players, but the defense held them back. Based off this one game, LSU's defense, with all the additions they made in the portal, all of a sudden is a legitimate unit right now and might be one of the best in the country. And now you have an NFL quarterback, maybe right now the betting favorite to win the Heisman pretty by a good amount in Garrett Nussmeier. Again, all of a sudden LSU goes from, okay, a top 10 team, a playoff contender. Now all of a sudden we're talking about them as a top 5 team and a legitimate national title contender.
Absolutely. And then going to the other side for Clemson, couple things really were obvious in this game. One, again, Klubnik didn't have as many answers or really any answers for pressure. 2, the Antonio Williams injury really hurt him.
Yes.
Because he's the veteran guy in that receiving core. He picks up so many big first downs for him, along with being the deep threat. And the deep ball was one problem. Clemson didn't complete a deep pass all night beyond 20 yards. Any of their explosive plays came after the catch. So Clemson's offense without the deep ball, that's one problem. And 2, they didn't have a run longer than 7 yards all night. Yeah. They didn't have a single explosive run all night. And obviously we've been questioning the running back situation. And this is a game as close to the vest as it was. And they were up 10-3 in this game, that you need to be able to run the football. And that's the one legitimate question we had was, okay, this Clemson, did they get enough out of this running back spot? They didn't in this game. And I think, in these hard-nosed defensive games, you have to be able to just hand it off to somebody and say, hey, we need 5 yards here, right? Clemson doesn't have that at the moment, or at least they didn't in this game. They need to be able to run the football. They need Antonio Williams healthy. And look, I think a lot of teams are going to take the strategy of, let's keep Clemson in front of us. Let's not allow them. Let's not just let Cade Klubnik just throw it right over our heads all the time, because, look, if that's the case and you make him at least manufacture, you keep yourself in the game and you stand a chance. That's exactly what LSU did, down 10-3, and at times not with very much momentum in this game. LSU's defense kept them in it. They prevented those deep shots from Klubnik, and for the first time in a long time, we can sit here and say LSU's secondary won the battle.
So, again, same question as before, Texas-Ohio State. How does your opinion change as national title contenders for both these teams right now?
For Clemson, not much. There's some things to fix. Need Antonio Williams healthy. Still a clear favorite in the ACC.
Yeah.
The defense is still elite. They still only gave up 17 points in this game. For LSU, it changes a bit. If they get that level or something close to that level of defense on a consistent basis, they're moving into that circle.
And I think right now, again, we're not doing the top 25 today on this show. We're doing actually another grade release show tomorrow for you guys live. We'll do the top 25 then. But spoiler alert right now, LSU is at least a top 3 team for me right now.
Yeah, it should be.
You could argue them maybe number 2 over Penn State. I probably still have Penn State number 2 and Ohio State number 1.
I mean, if you're going,
but LSU's probably 3.
I know it's early, but if you're going with a 1-week resume, they probably should be number 2.
Yeah. I mean, for me, at least number 1, because I had Clemson number 1 going into the year.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's a massive, massive win. LSU obviously has work to do with a very tough schedule, but that their defense in winning a game 17-10.
That's a statement.
I don't know the last time they did that.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up.
I told you it's the best EPA per play in 11 years for them.
No,
that's insane.
It's big time if this team suddenly has defensive balance. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a statement win from LSU. So I agree with you. Again, Clemson, I know I picked them to win the preseason national title, and again, 0-1 is start great for them. But you look at the schedule, they have Georgia Tech, SMU, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, South Carolina. Maybe they lose another 2 games, but I just doubt it. So I still feel good about Clemson making the playoff. But, of course, you got to recalibrate your expectations for them as maybe the national title favorites, for at least for me, to now all of a sudden you got to talk about some other teams now as who's going to win the national title. LSU, again, a team that I thought would make the playoff. I had them in my playoff, but barely making the playoff. Now all of a sudden I'm talking about them as, they're a legit national title contender in 2025. So massive result for the LSU Tigers, the Road Tigers, in that victory over Clemson. Next up, Dalton, I lost my national champion in week 1. They went down. You lost yours in week 1 as well. Alabama losing to Florida State despite being 14-point favorites. We'll talk about that in just a second. But let's go over to the highest graded players from the Florida State Seminoles. Highest graded player was cornerback Early Little III with an 82 grade. Deontay McCray, 74.4. Jabril Rawls, another corner, 71.5. Edge rusher Jason Jenkins, 68.3. Wide receiver Squirrel White, 67.2. And the man of the hour, Tommy Castellanos, 77.6 grade in the win over Alabama. He backed up the talk in that victory. Let's go over to Alabama with their highest graded player, starting off with wide receiver Jeremy Bernard, 74.7. Edge rusher LT Overton, 71.4. Cornerback Deshaun Jones, 71.1. Defensive tackle Edric Hill, 70.2. Geno Vandemark, the guard, 69. And Ty Simpson in his first career start with a 62.1 grade in the loss. Dawn, for you, the stat tool story.
Well, there's a clear kryptonite. It's what I talked about in the preview for Alabama. It came out again. It's to me the one thing that made me worry about this matchup was Tommy Castellanos and Gus Malzahn and the way this offense was going to be run. Stat that tells the story. Tommy Castellanos, 80 rushing yards. Okay, the magic number in Alabama is 50. 6 games now in just over a season with Kalen DeBoer as their head coach. 6 times opposing quarterbacks have run for at least 50 yards on Alabama. Crimson Tide are 2-4 in those games, and the 2 wins are a 2-point win over South Carolina and a win over USF that was close with 6 minutes left. This team had an entire offseason knowing who their opponent was to solve this, and it looked exactly the same as last year. That looked like the Oklahoma game. It looked like the Vanderbilt game. It looked like a good chunk of the South Carolina game. It looked like 3.5 quarters against Byron Brown and USF. This team, and the reason I picked them to win a title, you had them as the runner-up. We had them kind of agreed upon as a top 4 or 5 team.
Oh, I had them semifinals. Don't sell me short there.
Who'd you have runner-up?
Texas.
Oh, did you have Texas in the net?
Yeah, they lost too. So
okay, well, there you go. Okay, well, you had jeez.
Yeah, tough look for us, yeah.
It's lonely at the top. That's the problem for me, is what our expectation for Alabama, as you do with a lot of college teams when they retain a lot of talent, is, man, they kept a lot of the same talent they had last year. Here's another year of experience. Here's another good offseason. Here we go. That was the exact team. That was the exact same team that we saw that missed the playoff last year, that deserved to miss the playoff last year. And if they can't figure this out on defense, they'll miss the playoff again this year. And I know Ty Simpson, underwhelming, not great, harsh conditions, a lot of pressure, fell behind, all that stuff. Ty Simpson, if anybody wants to sit there and blame him, I mean, you can. He's the quarterback, fine. He's probably like the 4th or 5th reason I would blame for Alabama losing this game. To me,
well, they got dominated in the trenches.
They got dominated in the trenches. To me, the first reason they lost, they got thoroughly outcoached in this game. I don't. This team, for this offense, and I know it's a new offense, and Castellanos and Gus Malzahn, Alabama as a program has seen plenty of Gus Malzahn over the years.
Yeah.
And there's enough tape on Tommy Castellanos to know what he is, right? And he made throws. He made a handful of excellent throws in this game that gave him enough balance. The big concern is this is the same Alabama team we watched last year.
Yep.
And all of the stumping for them to make the playoff last year, to me, was unwarranted. Mm-hmm. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Oklahoma. And how did they lose those games? The same way they lost this one. Because when they have to play disciplined defense, they have a lot of talent on defense.
Yes.
And we could talk about the Tim Keenan injury. I don't think that would have helped them one bit. Their problem on defense is not a shortage of talent at all. They don't play disciplined football on defense. When they have to play a mobile quarterback, when they have to face a heavy option team, when they're facing a team like Gus Malzahn is running here with trick plays and end arounds and options in the run game, multiple versatile options, when they have a scrambler and they just need to keep contained and they just can't do that. Same old story. It's the opinion to me of any of the teams that lost in week one, the one I'm most panicked about is Alabama.
Agreed.
Because they got outcoached. They walked into Tallahassee and got outcoached.
Yeah.
They did. And that's the first. I'm not getting on Ty Simpson. He played very mediocre football. There was some good, there was some bad. He's not great on the move. Clean pocket, I thought he was okay under pressure. Not great, but he's not going to be the same as Jalen Milroe in playground like that. They need their best players to be better. And on defense, they got to play more disciplined football because it's not a talent shortage at all.
Dude, I had Alabama as one of the best defenses, I believe my number one defense actually heading into the year, because they had a top 10 player at every position. But you just said it right there. They're one of the most talented in the country. They don't play like a team right now. It's a collection of individual players. It's not a unit right now for Alabama. My stat, and this is alarming for Alabama right now, Kalen DeBoer, as a 2-touchdown or more favorite in his career at Alabama so far, his record is 4-4. 4-4. He has won 50% of the games where he's a 2-touchdown or more favorite. For reference, Nick Saban is 131-2 as 2-touchdown favorites as Alabama. Now, credit to Brett McMurphy for that stat right there. But what are we talking about right now for Kalen DeBoer, man? In the words of Tommy Castellanos, Nick Saban ain't there to save them right now. And Kalen DeBoer, right now, we're seeing a team under Kalen DeBoer lose games that Nick Saban coached teams would never have nightmares of losing. Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Michigan, Florida State. That Michigan bowl game, by the way, where all these Michigan players opted out for the NFL draft, Alabama was at full strength, and they still lost that game against Michigan. And also, Dawn, the most alarming part to me, they are losing ball games the way that Nick Saban teams never, ever lost ball games. They're getting worked in the trenches right now. If you were going to beat Nick Saban's Alabama teams, you better have a superstar at quarterback and guys on the outside that can get downfield and make plays. You would never, ever beat Alabama by beating up their offensive line and beating up their defensive line. But in all of these games, in the Vanderbilt game, especially in the Oklahoma game when Jackson Arnold went wild on them, in the Michigan game, and now this Florida State game, they are getting beat up in the trenches right now. Listen, if you look at the schedule, Kalen DeBoer is in serious trouble of missing a 12-team college football playoff. When Nick Saban, if there was a 12-team playoff in the Saban era, he'd make the playoff every single damn year. If you look at the schedule, they have road games at Georgia, at South Carolina, at Auburn, at Missouri, home games against LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Vanderbilt. They likely need to go at least 10-1 in the final 11 games to make it in the playoff. And you look at that schedule and the way they looked against Florida State, a team that we thought would be a good, decent team in the ACC, but nowhere near the caliber of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer could miss a playoff 2 years in a row now.
They're even in games that they will currently, I'm sure if we look at betting lines, still be favored. This is a team that against pocket quarterbacks, when everything's kind of standard, they'll probably still be fine. But I look at the they lost to Vandy last year. I look at the Vanderbilt game with Diego Pavia, how creative that running game is. Look at a game like at Missouri with Bo Prabula as their quarterback, right? Dual threat guy. Lenora Sellers, John Mateer, Jackson Arnold. These are dynamic dual-threat quarterbacks that can run the football. This is the kryptonite. We've seen it now for the better part of 14, 15 games now, 14 games. And we've seen it in 6 of them, how bad it's looked over and over and over. Those are the teams that stress me out, maybe even more so than Georgia. And then the problem is you're playing Georgia with a first-year starting quarterback. If LSU's defense looks like it did last night, you're playing them with a first-year starting quarterback. You're playing Brent Venables. You're playing South Carolina. You're playing Tennessee in that defense. The road just got a lot harder in Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
This was not a game. It's with a tough SEC schedule where you have to go 10-2. Losing to Florida State's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And losing to Florida State the same way you lost all those games last year, except the Michigan game was more defensive and whatever. But you look at all these games with running quarterbacks. They're on the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, Vanderbilt's licking their chops again. Vandy. Yeah. We never used to talk like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, there is still an element no matter how much talent you retain. There's a lot of it. Alabama's got a boatload of talent. Could they turn this around? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they got 3 weeks. They got 2 games and a bye week to get ready for Georgia. And the different problem with Georgia is that's Kirby Smart going against a quarterback that's never played against Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
We got issues in Tuscaloosa.
We do.
Issues. Major issues.
We do. Kalen DeBoer, again, 50% win percentage as 2 touchdown favorites. Nick Saban, 98.5% win percentage as 2 touchdown favorites. That's just, I mean, Nick Saban had 133 games as 2 touchdown favorites, and he lost 2 of them. Kalen DeBoer has had 8, and he's lost 4 of them so far.
What that tells you is Nick Saban just about never used to lose games to teams that were less talented.
Yeah.
Like if you even had a chance against Alabama, you had a hell of a lot of talent on your team. Mm-hmm. They didn't just go losing. They're more talented than Florida State. I don't think that's a question. But they haven't learned anything from last year. Yeah. And they got, again, thoroughly outcoached in this game. That's reason number 1 for me they lost this game.
Absolutely. All right, what's the most impressive part for you in this Florida State victory?
And throw it here to the Florida State run defense. 80.6 team run defense grade. In a rainy game in Tallahassee that was kind of ugly and a big offensive line they're playing, they won the battle in the trenches on that side too. Alabama on their first drive when they went up 7-0 took 9 minutes off the clock. They had 55 rushing yards. They had 47 the rest of the day. They couldn't run the football either. Florida State allowed negative .110 EPA per play on designed runs in this game. That's their best in 10 years. Their best since week 6 of 2015. Only 3 missed tackles all day in run defense. 11 different players. This wasn't just one guy. 11 different players for Florida State had at least a 65 run defense grade.
Wow.
Run the ball.
It's an entire defense.
You talk about getting beat in the trenches. Both sides. Both sides, after the first drive, they were like, nah, we ain't having that. We got to make Simpson beat us. Mm-hmm. That's the part where I give credit to Florida State. They won in the trenches on both sides at all 3 levels, to be honest with you, in run defense especially. You look at all those guys that are in Florida State's top 5 on defense there, it's because of their efforts in run defense. Mm-hmm. They control the trenches on both sides of this game. Florida State, dominant effort. We got to look at them a little bit differently too now.
Absolutely.
In the ACC picture, we've been talking about for months, who's going to be the second team? Who's going to be the team in that second tier? And we didn't even talk about Florida State in the second tier with Miami, Louisville, SMU, Duke, whoever you want to put. Now they're in it.
Yeah.
You're talented enough to beat Alabama. You're talented enough to beat anybody in the ACC. That's not a question, especially with Malzahn and Castellanos working the way they are.
And we'll see after tonight, too. They might be the highest-ranked team. If Miami loses badly, say, to Notre Dame, Florida State could be the highest-ranked team after Clemson in the ACC.
Florida State, after a game like that, I mean, last year being what it is, they should be in the top 15.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you look at their and really, they nailed the coordinator hires, I would say right now, because Tony White, the new DC, had a great game yesterday at Florida State. And I will say, too, Jam Miller did not play, so that obviously is a factor. He's a starting running back for Alabama. But even with Jam Miller, it's still the offensive line is getting beat up. I don't care who was playing running back for Alabama. I think they wouldn't have had much success in the run game. Florida State did have a lot of success in the run game, though, because Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos, man, they're my most impressive part right now. And I'm going to be honest. I was fully prepared to come into this show on Sunday morning, pull up those Tommy Castellanos quotes, and go, this is why you don't poke the bear. He not only poked the bear, he delivered a right hook to the bear and knocked him out.
He wrestled the bear.
He wrestled the bear. He absolutely did. Tommy Castellanos, 79 passing grade with a big-time throw. You mentioned before, 80 rushing yards with a touchdown and another 5 first downs on the ground, too. 4 broken tackles on the ground. Gus Malzahn tweeted after the game, Feels like old times tonight. And he was absolutely right, because as Auburn's head coach back then, he beat Alabama in 2013, 2017, and 2019. A lot of the same principles in those games. The running quarterbacks. Nick Marshall, I believe, was one of the quarterbacks in those games.
Was he not also the OC the year of Cam Newton?
I believe he was, yeah.
Right, yeah, he's used to this.
There's a formula here. Yep. There's a little bit of a formula here. And listen, he has Alabama's number right now, and Florida State looks like a complete 180 from last year offensively and defensively. Dalton, I remember last year we were watching the first couple games and really the entire season for Florida State after going 2-10, and we looked at each other and said, they're soft. There's a soft football team. They are. Especially against the game where we found that out was against Tommy Castellanos and Boston College on a Monday night. That's when you looked at them and went, oh, they're not about it. Yeah.
Oh, this Florida State team's about it. And all you got to do is avoid a letdown the next couple weeks. But they're going to, I believe their first, I don't know if it's their first ACC game is against Virginia, but it's week 5 maybe that they're playing Miami, hosting Miami.
That was a huge game.
That just became a primetime matchup again. And most years it is. Last year it wasn't. Buckle up. If you're the rest of the ACC playing Malzahn and Castellanos in this run game, buckle up. This is about to be a whole lot of fun in Tallahassee this year.
Dark horse playoff contender now, too.
Yep.
Dark horse. Not even a dark horse anymore after that.
If this was close or some miracle or a Hail Mary or something, I might go, but
yeah.
No, they're in it now. They're in the circle. All those teams we talked about behind Clemson in the ACC, they're in it now.
And they play Miami, Clemson, Florida. Everyone else is not ranked. I mean, if they win one of those 3 games, they could be in the playoff.
Sure. Honestly, yeah, they could do that.
So
I don't see you got Gus Malzahn calling plays with a quarterback like that. No, it's a perfect fit.
And really what a huge – I mean, Mike Norvell, with all the pressure on him heading into year 6 this year after a 2-10 record last year, their worst record in half a century. What a statement from Mike Norvell in this one, beating number 8 Alabama 31-17. Unfortunately, next up is my Syracuse Orange, losing to Tennessee in another SEC ACC game. Unfortunately, producer Eli's very happy back there. Tennessee beating Syracuse 45-26. Let's go over the highest graded player, starting off with Eli's victorious Tennessee Volunteers. Their highest graded player was Deshaun Bishop, the running back, 90.4. Offensive tackle Lance Hurd, 76.1. Star Thomas, the transfer running back, also was 76.1 grade. Ty Redmond, the corner, 75.6. Another corner here in Colton Hood, 75.4. And how about Joey Aguilar, man, with an 83 grade in his first game as Tennessee's starting quarterback. Let's go over to Syracuse with their highest grade players. Demetrius Witherspoon, the tackle, 76.5. David Omopariola with the edge rusher, 75 grade. Deuce Chestnut, the safety, 74.1. Yassine Willis, the running back, 74. Jonte Cook, the former 5-star receiver at Texas, now at Syracuse, 70.6. And Steve Angeli in his first game as Syracuse's starting quarterback with only a 59.1 grade in the loss. Dawn, for you, the stat to the story.
I think it's pretty simple. Tennessee got the jump on Syracuse and never looked back. They were up 17-0. They were up 24-7. They were up 31-4. I believe they had 3 different 17-point leads. Their first 7 drives on offense were darn near perfection. Into Syracuse territory on 6 of their first 7 drives, 4 touchdowns, a field goal, a punt, and a lost fumble in Syracuse territory. That's about the only mistake they made the entire first half. 7.8 yards per play on those first 7 drives, 80.5 offense grade. They just had everything working. They did. Syracuse's defense, they just didn't stand a chance early in this game. Running the ball with 3 different really good backs, Deshaun Bishop, Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, all of them got going. Joey Aguilar looked comfortable in this offense. And, I think with Aguilar, there are games, like as the vertical passer that he is a fit for this offense, which makes it interesting. And the big thing in this game is the ball security was good.
Right.
The only thing I'm going to be looking for all year from Joey Aguilar is ball security. If you can balance ball security with the vertical passing that Josh Heupel, the opportunities he's going to give you, it's going to look like this sometimes at Tennessee. They looked really good offensively in this game, and Aguilar looked comfortable. I think it's a simple vertical system that he's comfortable in, especially with the tempo. And if you got 3 running backs playing the way they played yesterday, I think Aguilar, he looked really comfortable. Just overall, this Tennessee offense, especially early in the game, I don't think you could ask for a whole lot more. They had the 1 defensive touchdown as well, but by the time their first drive of the third quarter was over, they had 38 points.
Dude, Dawn, they had an 85.2 offensive grade in this game. That's their best offensive grade for Tennessee in a game. since 2016 when it had a 90.6 grade against Kentucky. Some of the players on that 2016 Tennessee offense, for reference, Alvin Kamara.
Good player.
Jawan Jennings.
Yep.
Joshua Dobbs is the quarterback, too.
Good player.
Great college quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about studs, and that's how far back you have to go to find an offensive game as good for Tennessee as it was against Syracuse. That was Butch Jones's final full season as head coach. That's how long ago it was for Tennessee. Syracuse's defense, you mentioned it, had no chance against Tennessee's offense in this one. Tennessee averaged .331 EPA per play, would have been its second best against a Power 4 opponent last year, only behind the game against Vanderbilt. 7 yards per play for Tennessee, 6.3 yards per run, 9 yards per pass, 4.3 yards after contact per attempt, too. Syracuse's defense really struggled tackling in this game. And as a Syracuse alum, this is one of the biggest question marks I had going into this game was, yeah, the Syracuse defense could be tough. And they had a lot of issues in this one. I mean, listen, if you told me Syracuse is going to score 26 points on this Tennessee defense, I would have said they got a shot at winning this ball game. And they lost by 19 because Tennessee's offense was outstanding. And real quick, my most impressive is Josh Heupel because he showed why he's one of the brightest offensive minds in college football in this game on Saturday. Because, reminder, Tennessee was replacing a quarterback in Nico Imaliava, who we thought was a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the country entering the year. SEC Offensive Player of the Year and running back Dylan Sampson. Their top 3 receivers, 4 starting offensive linemen, and they still had their best offensive grade in 9 years, even with all of those new offensive pieces too. Now, yes, of course, Syracuse's defense is not even close to being the stingiest defense that Tennessee will play all year. But still, Tennessee's offense looking like that in the first game of the year with all those new pieces is very, very encouraging. And Josh Heupel deserves all the credit in the world because we said if Tennessee was going to have another playoff run, it would need to be the best coaching job of Heupel's career. And at least in week 1, he really looked the part.
I promise you, Josh Heupel's favorite stat in this game is the fact that they ran for 250 and they threw for 253.
Yeah.
That's the level of balance they had. And to me, the most impressive, I thought all 3 of these Tennessee running backs. Last year it was the Dylan Sampson show, really, for this entire offense. Deshaun Bishop, 11 carries, 82 yards, touchdown, 7.5 yards a carry, 85.6 rushing grade, 2 catches for 44. Star Thomas, 12 carries, 96 yards, 8 per carry, 5 explosive runs, caught a touchdown. Peyton Lewis also 8 carries for 38 and a touchdown. They got a rotation of backs that they can run the football with, and a couple of them, again, catching balls in this game as well. Tennessee with balance. And Aguilar, look, he's going to be sometimes a lower percentage passer. He's a vertical passer. He can move around a little bit. He's really gutsy out there. I'll tell you, I mean, watching him at App State the last couple of years, gamer, big time. And again, the key for Joey Aguilar is going to be ball security in big games. Ball security was good, made enough plays, even made a couple outside the pocket. But the balance this Tennessee team had on this day, 250 running and passing, that's going to be Josh Heupel's favorite thing. Just spectacular stuff from their offense.
So shout out producer Eli for winning this game. Also, Tennessee covered in this one, which unfortunately means I lost the bet between us.
And what is it now did we decide on?
We decided, I'm trying to find the exact person who sent me this. I believe it was actually Bear May who sent me this. So yes, we're going to be doing, I'm going to have to eat, because Tennessee covered the spread by 5, I will have to eat 5 oranges. Back to back.
I was going to see if I could get
in one sitting. I'll do it on camera too. I won't do it on the show.
I was going to see if I could get you to do it like right now. I should have bought.
Can you imagine the ASMR of just you going on a rant and you just hear me crunching an orange in the background? That'd be pretty awful.
I don't want to imagine that. I don't even. I'm sure Eli listening.
We'll get it on camera. We'll have me eating 5 oranges on camera. I'm sure my body will be like, "Why are we eating this much fruit? You've never done this before in your life. What is going on right now?"
The fun part too is we're going to have another bet like this coming week because Syracuse is playing our good friend Max Toscano, his UConn Huskies this week.
What am I going to do there?
I don't know.
Another orange bet?
You're just going to eat oranges all year? It's probably good. It's probably good for you.
Max gets healthy on the season. That's a punishment for Max.
It is. It actually is, though. It actually is.
Considering how bad we eat during the season, this actually might be the best thing for it. Syracuse sucking this year might be the best thing for my health, actually.
No, Eli, we got to find something. We'll make him eat the oranges this time. But at Max Toscano, if you're out there watching, find something really cruel for us, please. If UConn wins next week, then we're on to something.
Drake Holiday says Max's skin is going to be glowing from all that vitamin C.
There you go. See?
I told you, man.
Don't look at it as
my body's going to reject it. I think live on camera, like, what are we doing? Why are we eating this much fruit? This is not like you at all. Where's McDonald's? Yeah.
You're a mess.
All right. Well, unfortunately for me, Syracuse lost to Tennessee. Congratulations to Eli, I guess, for winning that bet, and Tennessee starting off 1-0. Whatever. All right. Next up is Utah taking down UCLA late on Friday night. I would say Pac-12 after dark, but unfortunately, UCLA is in the Big Ten now. Utah is in the Big 12. UCLA winning this one 43-10. UCLA, I just go over their highest grade players real quick, starting off with the Utah Utes. Unsurprisingly, our guy, Spencer Fano, the best offensive lineman in college football, a top 5 player for us entering the year. Yeah, he looked the part. 87.6 grade for the right tackle for Utah. Projected top 5 pick right now in the NFL draft according to Trevor Sikkema. Edge rusher John Henry Daly, 84.8. Smith Snowden, the wide receiver, 74.1. How about the Fano family, man? Spencer Fano's older brother, Logan Fano, the edge rusher, 73.9. Jackson Benny, the cornerback, 72.6. And Devin Dampier, your guy, Dalton, with an 81.9 grade in his debut as Utah's starting quarterback. Let's go over to UCLA with their highest graded players in the loss. Cornerback Roderick Pleasant, 73.9. Running back Anthony Woods, 70.8. Keanu Williams, 67.5. Tight end Jack Peterson, 66.3. Cornerback Robert Stafford III, 65.9. And Nico Imaliava with an 82.1 grade in his debut as UCLA's starting quarterback. So what's the story in this Utah blowout victory?
I want to throw a bonus thing in there with Smith Snowden in that top 5 because we have another two-way player in college football. He's playing legitimate snaps both at receiver and corner.
Did you see Lander Barton caught a touchdown too?
And we got Lander Barton catching touchdowns at tight end. Utah's just making their whole team two-way players. They had Sione Vaki a couple of years ago. Utah's using every tool at their disposal. Max, before I even get to a stat or anything, I'm convinced this was the worry I had for UCLA in this game, and this was a blueprint win for Utah. The phones at the We're Back department are ringing off the hook, and it's just Kyle Whittingham calling. This was exactly what you wanted to see from Utah, from Devin Dampier, from this offensive line, running, throwing, defense, every bit of it. Honestly, we've been waiting. We've been going, okay, we think Utah's bouncing back. This should be better. This could not have gone better in week 1. Going down to UCLA on the road, obviously UCLA a team with some excitement, new quarterback, all of that. Man, oh man. If Utah looks like this on both sides of the ball all year, I feel darn good about predicting them to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
I really
had them as a runner-up too.
And it starts with that off Spencer Fano and even Devin Dampier on the ground and Wayshawn Parker and all these guys they can run the football with. 8 different players got to carry. 54 carries. 54. 286 yards. 4 touchdowns. 183 yards after contact. So it's not just the offensive line. 14 missed tackles. 37.5 minutes of time of possession. This game, you blinked your eye and it was 20-0. Because this team can run the absolute hell out of the football. And then, I'm just going to throw the most impressive. And then you have the part with Devin Dampier. Where, and look, something I don't think we said enough. We said, okay, hey, Dampier was the 6th highest graded quarterback in college football last year. He was really good. This is a good fit, this offensive line. We undersold the fact that also his offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, came with him from New Mexico also.
Yeah.
This may be his first year at Utah. This is not his first year in this offense. And this is, you watch this again last night. This is as creative an offense as any in the country. And we saw it last year in New Mexico. That was a high-flying team, especially, well, I should say it was really a very productive team on the ground especially. But if Dampier, you look at the passing line, 84.6% adjusted completion rate, 22-27, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns on the passing line. And he was making throws in the quick game, play action, bootlegs, outside the pocket, inside the pocket, along with 87 yards. The only thing I have to say for Utah in this entire game that's any bit of a criticism is I would just like to see Dampier take a couple less of the big hits that he took, because I need you healthy for 12, 13, maybe 15 games or more. Who knows? If Dampier can just avoid a few more big hits and he's healthy, oh, boy, we got a situation in Utah. They looked spectacular last night on all sides of the ball. And to me, Devin Dampier was in total control of this game. Just unbelievable what Utah looked. I thought it was just unreal what they looked like. This was as good as this possibly could have gone in week 1.
Absolutely. His offensive coordinator came over with him, and the Corey Detmer Jr., who's now the quarterback's coach, came over from New Mexico too. So
this is, you look at all the creative looks,
they
running pass,
yeah.
Man, oh man. And you talk about what Jason Beck is looking at now, calling plays. And I don't know how deep the bag is, but it's deep. And now he went from New Mexico, a team that didn't have any defense, and your offensive line, you're working around it a bit. And they were still a decent – actually, they were still a decent run-blocking team last year at New Mexico. Now you give them this offensive line, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, and these guys. This is a problem. This is a real problem for the rest of the Big 12.
So my stats little story is UCLA's offense, only a 56.1 offensive grade outside of Nico Iamaleava, who actually looked decent out there at quarterback. But Dalton, this was one of the biggest issues for us going into the year was what does Nico have alongside him on this offense? And we're proven right because Nico is still an 82.1 grade. Usually when your quarterback has an 80 grade, you score more than 10 points. That's not the case now for UCLA. 56.3 receiving grade as a team, 31.9 pass blocking grade as a team for UCLA too. They allowed 22 pressures on 32 dropbacks for a nearly 70% pressure rate. Nico was under pressure all game. He had no chance back there with those receivers and that offensive line. And we're heading into Big Ten play in a couple of weeks. This could be a huge issue for UCLA this year. It's basically you have a good quarterback and Nico Iamaleava and not much else in this offense.
Throwing this out there. This Big Ten play, this could be a big issue next week.
True.
They're going
UNLV.
They're going to UNLV next. They got to see Dan Mullen and UNLV next week. This could be a big issue next week. I'm not even getting to the Big Ten yet. This is and look, we said it in the offseason. Nico is the ray of hope. But if there's nothing else, we're going to have a problem here. And, one of the stats I want to throw out there on the rushing difference here, UCLA ran the ball for 112 yards. Nico had 75 of them.
Yeah.
Their backs, I believe, they had 15 carries for 37 yards. They got to find something else. He cannot carry them himself. If he's their highest graded player, that's great, but he can't be the only one up in that range.
Yeah.
It's not. And I know, again, Utah got the jump on him. Utah's a better football team than UCLA. I didn't question that before the game. I'm not questioning that now. That's for sure. UCLA's got to find something.
Yeah.
In the front seven on defense and anything else on offense. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And most impressive, real quick, Spencer Fano, highest grade player in this game, I believe, for both teams, and he was outstanding in this one too. 87.7 PFF grade, 85.2 run blocking grade. He led all FBS tackles as a true sophomore last year with a 92.7 grade overall and a 93.6 run blocking grade. Also, only one pressure allowed and only one loss and 33 pass blocking snaps too. Again, going into this game, my preview for Utah's offense was this offensive line has a clear and distinct advantage over UCLA. And listen, Dalton and I, we were wrong on a lot this week. We were not wrong about that. Utah's offensive line kicked ass in this game, and their superstar on that offensive line, who I got to check right now, but I believe is the number 3 overall prospect.
That sounds right to
on
me.
PFF's big board right now, according to Trevor Sycamore. He looked the part, and Spencer Fano could be a top 5 pick in this upcoming NFL draft. He's number 5 right now on the big board. He could be a top 5 pick, and if he keeps playing like that, he could absolutely be that.
What a group of maulers they have, and I have a
Caleb Lomu too is a first-round pick.
I have a feeling your Spencer Fano is your most impressive. Might be written in pen already for the rest of the season.
Oh, by the way, the broadcast for Utah-UCLA actually had a nice shout out to our show. They were saying the PFF College Football Show ranked the top 10 offensive lines, and they had Alabama number 1 and Utah number 2. And they made the joke, and as they should have, saying they probably want to change that and say Utah's number 1 now. I will agree with him.
Yeah,
I say Utah is number 1.
Yep.
I would say Utah is the best offensive line in the country.
We don't update that week to week like our guy Zoltan does for the NFL, but I'm in.
Yeah. So shout out to the Fox crew for shouting us out there, and I agree with you. I would say right now Utah is my number 1 offensive line in the country. I'll say that. I'll say I got that one wrong.
I've got no argument. You run for 286 in a late night game on the road. I'm in.
Absolutely. All right. Utah flexing its muscles on UCLA in that one. In the old Pac-12 game, starting off hot this year, though, with a 43-10 victory. Also, we had Utah in the top 20 preseason, too. So hopefully keep going with that one. Hopefully get one team right this year.
Ball nowhere's no ball.
But not much, apparently. But
some.
Before we move on to the Thursday and Friday games of college football, I guess I'll sponsor the show. That is Fabric by Gerber Life. As parents, we do everything we can to set up our kids for a successful future, academics, team sports, college admissions. But what about getting started financially when they're out on their own? Fabric makes it easy for you to set up an investment account for your child now that grows with them and helps prepare for their financial future. Fabric Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path with a kids investment account from Fabric. You can start investing in your child's future today. There are no contribution limits, multiple tax advantages, and they're SIPC insured up to $500,000, plus no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. You can share your child's unique gifting links with their family and friends, so instead of giving them more things they'll outgrow for birthdays and special occasions, they can help grow your child's investments instead. Fabric has partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. That is meetfabric.com/PFFcollege, meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. This is a paid promotion for the Fabric UGMA product and not for investment advisory services. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Custodial services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com and terms apply. All right, next up with a Friday night game, the first of two we're going to talk about today. Georgia Tech taking down Colorado in this one, 27-20. Let's go over to Georgia Tech with their highest graded player, starting off with wide receiver Eric Rivers, 76.4. Defensive tackle Akello Stone, 73.5. Linebacker EJ Lightsey, 73.4. Offensive guard Malachi Carney, 70.8. Linebacker Kyle Efford, 70. And Haynes King with a 74.4 grade in the win. Let's go over to Colorado with their highest graded player, starting off with tight end Zach Adkins, 73.3. Cornerback DJ McKinney, 72.8. Defensive tackle and Quinn Barnes Jr., 71.4. Keaton Wade, edge rusher, 70.1. Amari McNeil, the D tackle, 68.9. The actual highest grade player for Colorado was their quarterback, their new quarterback, in Caden Salter with a 78.8 grade in the win. Dalton, that's up to the start for you.
The entire reason, basically, that I picked Georgia Tech to win this game was because I knew what their identity was offensively, and I didn't know what Colorado's identity was offensively. And Caden Salter, by the grades, he made some plays. He missed a few throws also, especially on the move, and there was some times when it felt frustrating, and that's kind of what you get with Caden Salter. And I still think Pat Shurmur, with Salter as his quarterback, is trying to figure out what the wheelhouse is there with the play calling. No question what it is for Georgia Tech. Stat that tells the story is simple. This is a battering ram. They ran for 330 yards in this game.
Yeah.
This is just Georgia Tech. This is just what they do in any environment. They're not afraid of anybody. Haynes King is the toughest guy in the field. You've got Jamal Haynes, and I was really impressed with the fact that, look, Malik Rutherford played, I think, 2 snaps in this game. And Rutherford's always the guy with the screens, the jet sweeps, the guy that stresses you out in motion, and he gets hurt. And I'm a little worried because that's a big schematic part of their offense, and credit to the FIU transfer, Eric Rivers, for really taking over that role and being productive in it, in a lot of different things that Rutherford does for this offense. Georgia Tech, we say it all the time. We've said it for 2 years, you and I together already. Georgia Tech, when they get in their wheelhouse, they're a real problem. We saw it against Georgia last year in the game that went, whatever that was, 5 overtimes or whatever. I mean, if they get to running the ball like this, you have issues. And I think the theme for me is, there's a couple stats here that stick out. Haynes King ran for 166 yards, okay? 3 touchdowns that whole bit. 145 before contact.
Wow.
Wasn't even getting touched. 6 explosive runs. I mean, the problem for Colorado to me wasn't so much about physicality. In run defense, they missed 3 tackles all night. You would think if a team ran for 330 yards, you can't tackle. It's not the tackling. They couldn't fit it up. And when I look at this Colorado defense, I thought the defensive line, you saw some top 5 guys there. They played okay. I thought the secondary was good. Haynes King, inconsistent, throwing the ball, especially downfield, especially in drop-back situations. Colorado needs to work on some, and this is it's hard to execute and run defense against Georgia Tech. There's so many things coming at you. Clear split that their new linebackers had a problem in this game. Okay, they lost Levante Bentley, they lost Nakai Hill-Green. The new guys that are in there transferred up both from the group of 5. And they struggled in this game. And this is a notoriously hard offense for linebackers to deal with. So, things to get better on. There was a lot of positive for Colorado in this game too.
Yeah.
Things they got to get better with. Little better play calling and execution on offense. Better in the run fits. But, it's going to be a theme when they have to play Utah, when they have to play Kansas State. Some of these teams in the Big 12 bring similar attacks at you. You got to be able to fit it up. There was too many times where they just kind of weren't in the right spots in run defense as opposed to a lack of physicality up front. I don't think they got blown away in the trenches in this game, but they didn't fit things up and execute the way they should have. That's the blueprint for Georgia Tech. That's how they got to 330 rushing yards, and that's how Haynes King took this game over.
Great point from Ryan Nelson in the chat. He goes, an elite run game travels week to week. That's true.
We're seeing that a lot. We saw that a lot with several teams, home and road, especially on the road in week 1. There's at least 3 teams here that took their run game on the road and just absolutely dominated.
Samiris in the chat with an interesting stat, too. I think this might have been Georgia Tech's first out-of-conference road win in 9 years, too.
I think they said, too, it was their first game west of the Mississippi in, forever. They just don't – I forget what the exact year was, but it's been a while since they've even gone out west and played a game. And and even behind, and you're going to talk about the early struggles, even behind, Georgia Tech was able to stick to their identity. That won them the game.
Their identity last year was running the football and not turning the football over. They only had 10 turnovers all of last year. My side of the story is right here. Colorado, 7 points off 3 turnovers. Georgia Tech was characteristic in that fact that they were very good at running the football. They turned the ball over on their first 3 possessions, and Colorado only had 7 points to show for it. They had 2 3-and-outs after scoring a touchdown on the opening drive. Colorado did. Again, 10 turnovers all of last year, and Georgia Tech gifted you, and I mean gifted you, 3 turnovers on their first 3 drives. You have to take advantage of those turnovers and score at least 14 to 17 points. If you scored another touchdown, tie ball game, and we're going to overtime right now, right? So they did not take advantage of those 3 turnovers. I wasn't very impressed with Pat Shurmur's play calling after the first drive, especially in this game. And Kane Salter also missed some throws too, but just a really big missed opportunity for Colorado with 3 gimmies right there, 3 turnovers just handed to you to start the game, and you only score 7 points off those 3 turnovers. It's a massive missed opportunity for the Buffaloes there.
I'll say this. I have not said this, I don't think, a single time in covering Colorado the last 2 years. They need to run the ball more. Michael Welsh looked really good. I liked Kalen Taylor a lot. I would give him carries on the ground, too. I know he was doing good work in the receiving game, but Caden Salter and the option game needs to be expanded, and I know they're figuring this out, and it's polar opposite of what they had with Shedeur Sanders. They need to run the ball more. They need to base this offense in the run game and then take shots after that.
Yeah.
Go watch some Liberty tape is what I'm doing this week with this offense. Go see what Salter is comfortable with at Liberty. It's not the quick game. It's not East and West. It's not the same as Shedeur Sanders. If you're going to run your offense like that, put Julian Lewis in the game. Seriously, if you want to run Shedeur's offense, just start Julian Lewis. Run the football. These two, they didn't even have Dallin Hayden in this game. Yep. You might have 3 good running backs coming up here once he gets healthy, plus Caden Salter showed he's a dynamic running threat.
Absolutely.
Man, he always has been. That's not a question. I'm sitting there watching some of that Liberty tape and going, okay, what does this kid like to do, both running and passing? And we're expanding the hell out of this run game because their offensive line, I thought, looked pretty good. Colorado's a lot better than they've looked a lot of the last 2 years. If Caden Salter is going to be your quarterback, you got to lean into it. You got to really, really lean into it because there were times you can tell he's a problem. He's a darn good athlete. He's a problem to tackle. Lean into the run game. Lean into a new identity. If you're not going to do it, then Julian Lewis should be your quarterback.
Yeah.
If things aren't going to change that much. And I'm not saying it's because Salter played bad. He was the highest graded player.
Yeah.
But it's a philosophy on offense. I saw one team with an identity offensively and one team without one. The team with it won the game.
And you could have taken away the identity from Georgia Tech if you scored on those 3 turnovers. And all of a sudden, you get them behind the 8 ball right there. And then, like I said, I think Colorado, not only for the score, but momentum-wise, it could have just completely flipped the game upside down.
The first quarter, especially when you have things like that, because they're not going to do that often. Probably not again this
fumbled,
year.
A fumbled handoff and a fumbled snap.
Yeah,
right?
They're not. Georgia Tech's a team that doesn't have self-inflicted wounds in the book, right? First quarter is so important. Who scores first? And like we talk about with certain teams like Kansas State, for example. You get ahead 2 scores early on Georgia Tech, they get uncomfortable. But you didn't at 7-0, they're not uncomfortable. You didn't make them uncomfortable because they didn't fit. And look, a lot of missed opportunities. The missed opportunities early. The clock management late. This game at several moments was there for Colorado to be had. Just didn't execute. Good football game. I mean, these are two pretty good teams. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm worried about Colorado. Right? They got to execute better, no question. And Georgia Tech, once they got past those first 3 drives, they were the team that executed better in this game. A really fun football game, though.
What was the most impressive part of this Georgia Tech victory for you?
Oh, dude, it's Haynes King. Yeah. I don't know if we had an award for the toughest guy in college football, Haynes King is at least a finalist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many more players that straight up will their team to wins than Haynes King and what he does, especially on the ground. And the number of big hits he took in this game, and he just keeps coming at you. I mean, from front to back, Haynes King is as tough as they come. And you better know if he's healthy, because last year he dealt with the shoulder injury, had a hard time throwing late in the year. If he's 100% healthy, this is a bear of an offense to deal with. And in large part because he is just fearless out there. He will do anything it takes to win a football game.
Absolutely. My most impressive part is the Georgia Tech secondary. In this game, Colorado only had 0.024 EPA per pass. They did not have any games that bad in the first 2 years of the Deion Sanders era with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Only one game that bad in 2022. They were 1-11 that year. So this is a really good performance from Georgia Tech secondary in this one. Their best EPA per pass number on defense since 2022 against North Carolina. Now, yes, Caden Salter's inaccuracy did play a part in this game, but their back seven for Georgia Tech was solid across the board. 76.2 coverage grade. That would have been their second best coverage grade all of last season. And really, again, great sign considering Georgia Tech entered this game with plenty of question marks with that secondary. They were 106th in coverage grade last year, and they lost their best defensive back in cornerback Warren Burrell too. So a really good performance from Georgia Tech's secondary in this game. Again, one of their biggest question marks entering the year, and they kind of answered it in week 1.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's any of the Georgia Tech optimists out there when it comes to ACC contention. This was the blueprint, and this was a tough road win in a ruckus environment in a close game where they got through a lot of mistakes. The rest of the way, they're not making those mistakes. Brent Key does not let them make handoff mistakes and high snaps and all those sorts of things. They're going to get there. You really feel like they're going to get even better than this from here.
Oh, that's
a big time win for Georgia.
They could absolutely play in the ACC title game at the end of the year.
Sure. They're in that group.
Yeah.
There's a big group of them. They're in it.
How would this comparison for Zamiris? I know, not as a passer, but I kind of like this comp as just play style-wise. It reminds me of Baker Mayfield for Haynes King. Just a gritty, tough player who just wills his teams to wins. I get passing-wise it's not the same, but like just the toughness, I think, is what I see the same.
Certain guys,
the mentality,
certain guys bring it. I mean, he's a little quieter about it, but I think, and it's funny because the two of them played each other in the bowl game last year. Him and Diego Pavia, it's just like these two guys. They don't care if they're 50-point underdogs or whatever. They're just bringing it. They just bring it every week, every single week, and you have to appreciate a guy like that.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the other Friday night game. Shout out to Zach Tantillo, who works on the social media team here at PFF for this one. The Auburn Tigers starting off 1-0 with a 38-24 victory over Baylor. Let's go over the highest grade player starting off with Auburn. Their highest grade player was the quarterback, actually. Jackson Arnold with an 82.9 grade in his first game at Auburn. But next up is the center, Connor Liu, a guy actually that Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers both love for the NFL draft. I believe he's a top 20 prospect for both of them in this draft. 77.5 for them. Offensive tackle Mason Murphy, 74.6. Another guy who could be a top 20 pick in the NFL draft, Keldrick Falk here with a 74 grade. And how about that play, Dalton, where he ran down a wide receiver? Just a freak at 270 pounds.
It's like the Kenneth Grant moment, isn't it? Yeah.
Just disgusting. Jeremiah Wright, the guard, 70.5, and tight end Brandon Frazier, 69.3. Going over to Baylor with their highest graded players, starting off with Cole Wilson, the wide receiver, 82.5. Devin Bobby, the safety, 70.2. Another 70.2 here, and Tevin Williams III, the cornerback. Running back Bryson Washington, 67.4. Jacob Redding, the safety, 67.3. And Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback, 63.4. What told the story in this game for you?
So my stat is Auburn had 173 rushing yards after contact. That is their most against a Power 4 team since Week 11 of 2023. What happened in this game was Auburn found the groove in the run game early, especially huge loss. Have we got word on Jackie Marshall yet, the big defensive tackle with his injury?
No, that's a big loss.
Huge. He only got to play 8 snaps in this game. He's their best run defender, a guy we highlighted
by a mile.
In Baylor.
I think he's the best defensive player by a mile.
Yeah, and when he went down, and Hugh Freeze saw that they were just gashing Baylor's front 7 over and over, and even they were in 7-man boxes, sometimes in a classic 3-4 kind of front. Hugh Freeze he stayed on the gas. And look, he's got Jackson Arnold now. He's got all those receivers we talk about all the time. But at the end of the day, Hugh Freeze is a coach that wants to run the football. And if he could run the football every single play, he would. It felt like he was doing it in this game. Jackson Arnold, 16 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. How about 11 missed tackles on Jackson Arnold? I mean, just that looked more like the Jackson Arnold that Oklahoma beat Alabama with.
You want a stat real quick?
Absolutely.
Jackson Arnold, the first Auburn quarterback with 130 or more rushing yards and 2 or more rushing touchdowns in a game since Nick Marshall in 2013.
I thought for sure you were going to say Cam Newton.
Well, he definitely did it too, but Nick Marshall was the last one.
Okay,
Nick Marshall was the last one.
I mean, but then you look too, Jeremiah Cobb with a really good game, Damari Alston with a really good. I know they've got all the receivers, and we got plenty of time. We're going to talk a lot of Auburn this year, but this team wants to run the football first and foremost. And I think, and some people are going to freak out and go, well, what about Jackson Arnold? And they only let him throw the ball 17 times. Does that mean he's bad and the receivers are overrated? And nah, man. This was my most impressive. I'm just giving it to Hugh Freeze. He called a spectacular game. Just stay on it. Stay on it. They had no reason at any point in this game to ever get out of the ground game. At no reason at all. So I go, why take any chances? And for the most part, I didn't really get it from Baylor's standpoint, because even as they're getting gashed for 7 yards of carry on the ground, still sitting in quarters. I'm getting no safety help. I'm not getting an 8th guy in the box. Eventually, I go, I'll just take the chances with what I haven't seen before. Let him throw it. Make him throw it. Make Jackson Arnold beat you with his arm. If he does it, then you're getting beat both ways. It doesn't matter. But there wasn't a whole lot of extra help until maybe very late in the game when it was already kind of shot. This was a show for Auburn, maybe even better than if they had come out and slung it all over the place with these receivers. Because
absolutely
now you sit here and you go, those guys are still, Singleton and Coleman and Simmons and those guys are still out there. And you've got this 3-headed rushing monster you're looking at with an offensive line that dominated. Auburn, they keep this level of balance. And I won't even say balance yet because we haven't seen him throw the ball like that. We're going to see that. But this is a problem. And Hugh Freeze is still a run-first coach. He watched Oklahoma's tape against Alabama last year and said, oh, that's my guy. Yeah. That's the guy I want. I don't care if he can throw it. I want to run it all over. Because we know Peyton Thorne, he got better as a rusher last year, but not naturally that guy. Jackson Arnold's an athlete, man. You break 11 tackles in your first game with a new team. Hugh Freeze is going to have some fun with both dimensions of this offense. But I absolutely just love the game that he called. Never had to get out of the run game. Never felt threatened with Baylor's run defense. Stay on the gas. Run them over.
That's the story of the game, because my stat is Auburn scored 38 points and only had 108 passing yards in this one. That just shows how good this run game was for Auburn in this one. And my whole breakdown in our preview was, hey, Jackson Arnold and those receivers can take advantage of what is a vulnerable Baylor pass defense. They didn't need to at all in this game. 0.426 EPA per run, 6.3 yards per carry. 3 different players with at least 70 yards rushing for Auburn in this one too. Again, Auburn has one of the best receiving corps in the country, with the only school in America with 2 of my top 10 receivers, and Eric Singleton Jr., the Georgia Tech transfer, and Cam Coleman, the rising true sophomore. They only combined for 43 yards. If you told me those 2 would have 43 yards against Baylor, I would have said Baylor would win this football game. But Auburn beat them by 14 because of how good this run game was. This offense now is incredibly dangerous and makes Auburn, we said it before preseason, they're a sleeper in the SEC, and now they absolutely are with this offense looking the way it does. And my most impressive is just Jackson Arnold once again. 16 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 first downs on those 16 carries, 11 forced missed tackles for a 69% forced missed tackle rate. Again, he was fine. He was okay as a passer, but he did not need to throw the football. So anyone on Twitter or anyone else saying, oh, well, Arnold didn't look great as a passer, he didn't need to. They just ran the football down Baylor's throat, and that's what won them this football game. I think with those weapons he has around him, he'll be just fine as a passer this year. With that offensive line too, I have no qualms with him as a passer just yet because we didn't see much from him in this game because we didn't need to see much from him as a passer in this game. Just really impressive all-around performance from Auburn. When we thought their whole offense would be about those receivers and about Jackson Arnold as a passer, they killed Baylor with the run game.
Update, because I was just looking for it now. Jackie Marshall, high ankle sprain. Dave Aranda says he's day-to-day, but that's something that's big news. That's something that can linger for sure. It's certainly big news that it's not season-ending or anything like that, but that's something that can linger, and they've got a big game against SMU coming up this week. They need to bounce back, and especially in run defense, because we know SMU runs that up-tempo offense, and they can run the football too. This is going to be a big couple weeks here for Baylor to recover from this because they got physically outplayed in this game.
Absolutely. All right, big win for Auburn, big win for ZT. Starting off 1-0 on the season, 38-24 with a win over Baylor. Real quick, want to shout out our guy Johnny Noon. Apparently Becca just shouted out his birthday today. One of our favorite interviews of all time, Johnny Noon, now on the Commanders, the tackle from Illinois.
Happy birthday, Johnny Newton. We're previewing Illinois.
I'll never forget when he saw you and I at front row in his presser at the Combine. He goes, F yeah. I won't say on the show, but I love that guy. He's a man.
He's got to tune into the show. We got the Illinois game this coming week.
I do. Big one. Duke in week 2. We'll talk about that obviously on Tuesday, but big one there. All right, next up to the Thursday night football games now. We got Nebraska beating Cincinnati in Kansas City 20-17. Let's go over the highest grade players, starting off with the Nebraska Cornhuskers, starting off with their linebacker, Vincent Shavers Jr., 90.3. Heinrich Harburg, the tight end, 78.5. Marcus Buford Jr., the corner, 76.6. Andrew Marshall, the safety, 75.4. Luke Lindenmeyer, the tight end, 73.3. And Dylan Raiola with a 62.1 PFF grade. Up next, the Cincinnati Bearcats with their highest grade players, starting off with linebacker Jonathan Thompson, 87.6. Another linebacker right there, and Brian Sims III, 80.5. Safety Xavier Williams, 78.5. Safety Antoine Peak Jr., 76.1. Safety Trevin Gola Callard, 75.5. And then Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, 69.5. Great day for Cincinnati's back seven of that defense right there.
The middle of that defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that. I want to throw out there, too, a former quarterback, Heinrich Harburg, playing tight end there. Yep. Second highest graded player in his first game as a full-time tight end. So got to like that, too. But this game confused the hell out of me. Going back and even watching it a second time, this game threw me off. Because if you told me that there was a team that held the ball for almost 40 minutes, went 10 for 18 on third down, and was dinking and dunking 4 yards their way down the field every play and just kind of manufacturing offense when they can. If you told me one team did all of those things and won, pre-game I probably would have told you, actually, that's Cincinnati winning.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Nebraska. And they played keep away, which is good because I was assuming that Cincinnati wanted to play keep away, and then they're coming out on their first play, chucking it deep and getting field goal range at the end and chuck it deep and throw an interception. I got almost like this bizarro version of these two teams that I didn't think we were getting, and it ended up being, I thought, even a closer game than it should have been considering how much Nebraska controlled it. But the couple of things that stand out to me, one, I thought Nebraska was almost overly conservative in this game. I think Dylan Raiola's average depth of target was 4.3 yards. And I know it's soft zone defense for the most part, Tyson Veit, Cincinnati's defense, all that stuff. But let him stand in the pocket and take some shots. Like, the once or twice they did it, it worked. And it just felt like Nebraska was content to offensively almost just like not screw it up. And I thought they could have attacked more. Dane Key looked good. And Isaiah Hunter looked good, right? The running game, even with Emmett Johnson, looked good. But they just never really, like, I come out of this game with Nebraska's offense.
Riley looks like Kurt Mahomes a little bit. How Mahomes dinking and dunking right now. And
which, and maybe it's, I don't want to say it's part of the act. But, I mean, I come out of this game with Nebraska feeling like they should have won by more. And I don't really know what their offensive identity is. Now, flip side, what this became more so than anything to me, and the spotlight was on Raiola, Nebraska, Arrowhead, all that. This just became a Cincinnati game. And the part where I worried about Cincinnati, previewing them and before the season, talking to some people even around here, was, look, they can run the ball. First of all, they got to choose to run the ball. Yeah. Second of all, I don't know what to make of this passing game. I think at this point, I've got not just this week, but the second half of last year, I've got like 8 games of proof that this team just can't throw it vertically.
Yeah.
The wide receivers is a group of transfers that are really – they played well elsewhere, but it's not great at this level. Brendan Sorsby, to me, he's just a conservative, efficient passer, but this team just can't push the ball vertically. 10-plus yard throws in this game, 2 for 8, 22 yards, and the interception to end the game. Their inability to push the ball vertically is why all of their games look like this now here in Cincinnati. Scored 17 points in this game. Over the last 8 games, they're averaging 19 points. And it's not the run game. I think, I thought Evan Pryor looked good. I thought Tawi Walker looked good. We know Sorsby can run the ball, but their inability to throw it downfield is what gets them in these games. And when they fall behind, they just can't get back in these games. I think this game, at the end of the day, in a vacuum, this game was about Cincinnati's inability, one, to get Nebraska off the field because Cincinnati has to be the ball control team, and 2, they just can't throw it vertically.
Yeah.
Their wide receivers and Sorsby's just not a vertical passer like that.
Again, my set of story is Brendan Sorsby, 2.6 yards per pass in this game. They had nothing in this passing game. He had 65 passing yards on 25 attempts, a 46.1 passing grade, 64% adjusted completion rate. Now, the final interception, and I tweeted this out, I didn't love the play call from Cincinnati because you're in field goal range, you're down by 3, play for overtime, your run game's been pretty good, see what happens in overtime there. And people were coming at me on Twitter saying it was the right play call, just missed the throw. Well, listen, this is not the kind of ball game you want to do that. And also, if you look back and watch the all-22 of that, Nebraska did an awesome job of rotating into cover 2 on that play, and the safety came over the top and made the pick. So they did a great job of fooling Brendan Sorsby into thinking it was cover 1. They rotated into cover 2 post-snap and got the pick. So didn't like the play call. Brendan Sorsby was not like making those throws either. So some people were like, oh, he just missed a throw. Yeah, he was missing throws all game. That was the whole point of the game. So you got to know what kind of ball game you're in. And I thought, in my opinion at least, play for overtime and see what happens from there. But he only had 2 positively graded throws all night. And also, it's not just him, 45.9 receiving grade for Cincinnati. That's their worst receiving grade in a game in 6 years for that program. And again, going into it, one of our biggest question marks was this passing game with Sorsby and with this receiving core even more. What does it look like? And so far, it doesn't look great for Cincinnati.
No. The team that they have, the preference should never be, unless it's super obvious and you got an opponent overmatched, whoever they're playing next week or whatever. It should not be to chuck the ball downfield.
No.
They just can't. They can't do it. So, and especially, you mentioned it, the run game looked good. They were running the football very well. You get into overtime with 25. Nebraska was the ones manufacturing little bits at a time. Cincinnati was ripping off chunk runs. You get that game to overtime, and you just make the decision, hey, let's take our field goal. Let's go. But understand, it's so often something, understand the game you're in.
Yeah.
And I think Cincinnati, they got to a moment, it was about a 50-yarder where they were at. Okay, pick up 8 to 10 more yards, spike it, kick the field goal, get on with it. To get greedy and take that shot.
Yeah.
Just not.
And it wasn't there either. Again, you watch all 22, it was not there. It wasn't like he was open.
It wasn't there, but it's especially not there because of their personnel.
Yeah.
Brendan Sorsby, I think it's of any Power 4 quarterback with at least 700 dropbacks since 2021. It's the lowest big-time throw rate in the Power 4.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not his game. It's not Cincinnati's game. They got to play ball control. The defense is pretty good. Well, you saw the middle of their defense. It's Big Dante in the middle of it. Their defense is pretty good. It really is. Mac McDoom out there at corner. They got good players. But they're constantly in these low-scoring games now. And if they're going to be that, they have to just lean into it. If they want to win football games. Look, the last play of the game, I'll be honest, I knew something was up when the first play of the game, they came out throwing a go ball. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That team right there, at this point, I'm not throwing unless I'm in third down or I know I got a play action look. I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to throw more than 25 times a game if I'm Cincinnati.
And it's good credit to Nebraska, too, because their coverage unit was pretty good.
They were spectacular. Yeah. This secondary. I mean, it's been a problem for Cincinnati, and Nebraska was obviously up to the task. You get in man-to-man coverage against Cincinnati, there's a lot of teams winning the battle right now. Nebraska won the battle again. Their secondary they were absolutely terrific. At corners, safeties, everybody. It was lights out on the outside. And again, it's what the last 7 or 8 Cincinnati games have looked like on the outside. Teams that get in man-to-man coverage, They're winning the battle. Nebraska's secondary was terrific. That was actually the best unit in this game. Just a lights-out performance from their coverage unit.
I'm looking up real quick. 89.4 coverage grade for Nebraska is easily the best of the last 2 years. Or not easily, but it is the best of the last 2 years. I'm scrolling right now. I'm keep going.
You're not going to find, if it's 89.4 as a team, you're not going to find very many better than that.
I'm going quickly. Hopefully I can find it real quick. But, yeah, they were out. This was originally my pick to be the most impressive too. But it was incredible out there. I mean, like you said, they were daring Cincinnati, to beat them on the outside, and they just couldn't do it. And that's the biggest reason why Cincinnati just couldn't do anything in the passing game this one. And it actually tied the best coverage grade ever for Nebraska in a game, tied with the game against Purdue in 2014. Again, our first year grading at PFF in college. So tied for the best coverage grade ever, and it's the best coverage grade for Nebraska in 11 years for that program. I'll highlight real quick Emmett Johnson on offense for Nebraska, the running back. He had 108 of Nebraska's 120 rushing yards, 63 yards after contact. Also had 7 catches for 27 yards in this game too. With Nebraska's passing game so slow and so methodical, Emmett Johnson keeping them on schedule was big. And I know it wasn't a great day for Nebraska's offense, but if Raiola was not going to push the ball downfield, and if you're going to throw to your running back 7 times out there, probably even more, I think he had 10 targets total in this game, and also have over 100 rushing yards, he was the star for Nebraska's offense in this game.
I think Nebraska's offensive leadership in general, if Raiola's involved in that, Dana Holgerson, their offensive coordinator, obviously, they need to figure out what their identity is. Because there was kind of an element in this game, too, where it felt like to me they were just kind of running plays. And I didn't see much of the offense kind of going together in sequence. There's a lot that they can get better with. They got talent. They got enough talent. Nebraska has enough talent to be a good offense. The next 2 weeks against lower opponents, I want to really see them figure it out. Yeah. Figure out what we want to do on offense. Because if you just go in week 4, they're playing Michigan. Huge game, good defense. Wink Martindale, that whole thing. You go into that game and you don't really have like a set plan and a way to sequence your offense, you're going to have a problem. Because you're going to need it. You need a plan, right? This game, I'm not saying they didn't. Maybe the game plan was, hey, this is one of these defenses that's drop 8 and it's going to sit back on us, and we'll be conservative. Maybe that was the plan. I want to see this team get aggressive. They're not going to be in Big Ten or playoff contention without Dylan Raiola being their best player. Let him be your best player.
It's good credit to Nebraska, too, because so many people on Twitter pointed out these are always the games in years past that Nebraska would lose. And they finally won this kind of game. And they won these kind of games last year, too. So Matt Rhule has this program going in the right direction. But, yeah, new Nebraska now, after so many years of under Scott Frost and even before that, too, where they would just lose these games. You're like, how did Nebraska blow that game? Well, now they're on the winning end of this kind of game, too. So,
and there's more coming. They're going to have to win 3 or 4 more of these. If we want to talk about Nebraska and the ceiling and maybe a 10-2 and sneaky playoff team kind of like that, there's going to be 3 or 4 more of these that they're going to have to win.
So our final game up here, and Dalton and I so far, again, reminder, our national champion picks are 0-2 to start the year. We also lost our Group of 5 playoff team.
Oh, this one.
Because this was a little shocking out there. USF dominated number 25 Boise State 34-7 in this game. Let's go over the highest grade players. Really quickly, starting off with the USF Bulls, starting off with their quarterback, honestly, Byron Brown was outstanding. We'll talk about him in just a second. 91.3. Mac Harris, linebacker, 91. Jonas DeClona, the corner, 77. Denard Flowers, the edge rusher, 72.7. Keyshawn Singleton, the wide receiver, 71.4. And Zane Herring, the offensive guard, with a 71 grade in the wins. Go over to Boise State with their highest grade players, starting off with edge rusher Jaden Virgin Morgan with an 80 grade. Braxton Feely, the D tackle, 78.6. Cage Casey, who's a really good left tackle for Boise State, 72.8. Jake Ripp, the linebacker, 67.4. Latrell Caples, the wide receiver, 65.4. And Maddox Madsen, the returning quarterback for Boise State, with only a 55.1 grade in the loss for the Broncos. What told the story in a massive result for the Group of 5 playoff race?
Well, the obvious worry with Boise State offensively was, okay, now they don't have Ashton Jeanty. What's going to happen? What's going to happen not just to the run game, but the entire offense? So there's several numbers we're going to get into here with Boise State. But the big one for me, their running backs. had one explosive run, Sire Gaines, and he had to break like 3 tackles just to get that. 66 rushing grade from the running backs, 3.4 yards per carry, 1 explosive run, 2 fumbles. They had more fumbles than they did explosive runs of 10 or more yards. This Boise State offense by halftime, and the 7 points that they scored, if I'm being honest, Alex Golesh gave them because there was a 4th and 1 early in the first quarter that I don't believe he should have gone for. I think he should have just punted the football, especially against USF realized, and they were up 10-7 at halftime, that they must have gone in the locker room and said, that team, they can't beat us. They're not capable offensively because they need the run game to work for Maddox Madsen, you mentioned this, to be the complementary piece that he really is. He's not going to carry your team. He's just not that quarterback, right? We've seen that before. We saw it last year, even in some wins. He's not going to carry your team. They don't run the ball, then they're really not going to be able to throw the ball.
He's a complimentary quarterback, and he has nothing to compliment right
Absolutely. Now. This Boise State team, USF was faster. USF was flying to the football. It seemed like they had watched the tape all summer on this team with their pass concepts because they were everywhere. Even the big plays Boise State did make occasionally in the passing game, USF was within 6 inches of these guys constantly in coverage. Boise State's offense. And look, at this point, we have to say it with Boise State. Their only road to the playoff is run the table, including A, winning the Mountain West again, possible, and B, going to Notre Dame and winning. They're not winning at Notre Dame. This offense can't win at Notre Dame. No. The Boise State's out of the playoff race. That's where I'm at. Unless the rest of the group of 5 is just a disaster the rest of the way. But there's already a couple teams that got some big wins, and there's some teams we're looking at that we're like, hey, and honestly, I would think they're better than Boise State. Boise State's defense, I know it's 34-7. They actually didn't play a bad game. It just caved in because there was no answer, right? Boise State's out. They're not going to Notre Dame with that offense and winning. That's not a thing. So there's already a second loss there. And with this offense, even with some of the teams in their conference, you better find it quick if you're even going to win the Mountain West. USF was really, really impressive in this game all the way around, especially on defense. That was as good as I've seen their defense look under Alex Golesh. A lot of veteran guys, a lot of returners on that defense that came back, and they really look like they're on assignment now. There's a lot of, past couple of years, a lot of blown assignments and things like that with USF's defense. A lot more fundamentally sound. They knew they had Boise State overmatched. They knew they were significantly faster. The team speed wasn't even close. USF, I don't know if they'll get ranked this week for a win like this over number 25, but they earned this win, and Boise State's offense, nope, it's not the same without Ashton Jeanty. It's that simple.
USF's got a shot to get ranked next week if they beat Florida, for sure. We'll preview that game. That's definitely – we have to preview now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Result. But my stat to the story is Boise State with a 58.9 PFF grade in this loss. Turns out that Ashton Jeanty guy is pretty valuable because they look like a shell of themselves without him in this one. Even after returning so many great players from last year's team outside of Jeanty too, it still did not look like the same Boise State team at all. Their lowest graded game against a group of 5 opponent since its loss to UTEP 3 years ago. Back in 2022 was the last time Boise State had a grade overall as bad as this one against USF. Nothing went right for them. A 58.1 defensive grade that would have been its second worst defensive grade all of last year. The only one that was worse was a playoff game against Penn State. 58.3 offensive grade. Only one worse last year. Playoff game against Penn State. They graded below a 70 in all aspects of our grading. Offense, defense, passing, running, receiving, pass blocking, run defense, pass rush, coverage, tackling, special teams even. Everything was below a 70 for Boise State. And usually 70 is all right. That's the benchmark, usually for being solid at least. Nothing was solid for Boise State in this loss. A good old-fashioned ass-kicking by USF in this game for what was, according to the betting odds, and we picked them too, the clear favorite to make the group of 5 playoff spot. They're like plus 180, plus 200 on some books to make the playoff. And they got their ass kicked in this one. And now all of a sudden the group of 5 playoff race is wide open.
Yep. And I think that's a fun thing to talk about here. Look, USF, we're previewing the game next week. And the week after they play Miami. Let's just say by some miracle, and this is a big win, but let's just say by some miracle they win one of these next 2 games. First of all, we're looking at USF like a house all of a sudden, the American. 2, I think that's the key, is getting one of those wins, right? Getting one of those Power 4 wins. We saw Tulane beat Northwestern this weekend. We'll talk more about that. UNLV's got a big game with UCLA coming to town next week. James Madison's coming to Louisville on Friday. That's a big game. Ohio, I'll tell you what, Ohio, we're going to talk about them too. They played a tight game with Rutgers, barely lost. They get West Virginia this week. They get another opportunity. I think if you're a team that's looking to get one of those Power 4 wins and really jump Boise, because Boise's now all of a sudden extremely vulnerable and I think just about out of the playoff race after week 1, you're really looking at this going, man, this is an opportunity. We're gonna get more into it here in a minute, but this Group of 5 race opened up, and the American, I think if USF is going to add themselves this year into the mix and take another step from being 6-6 the last 2 years, the top of this American conference is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. But I think that's the big takeaway from this game. Boise's out. This offense, they are not going to Notre Dame and winning a ball game. And even if they go undefeated otherwise, I don't know that there's enough.
Who impressed you the most, real quickly, in the USF's victory?
Boy, I love the way these two linebackers played. Mac Harris, who was their highest-graded player, and Jalen Schuler, who's one of their best players, too. A lot of veterans back on this USF defense, but these two linebackers, both returning starters, you talk about stopping the run. Man, oh man, they had spectacular games. Harris was awesome. 8 tackles, 3 stops, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble, and a pressure as a blitzer. He did everything. And Jalen Schuler, 79 run defense grade, 15 total tackles, 6 defensive stops. Their linebackers were awesome. And again, this entire defense, this was in the 2+ years now of Alex Skoll. My brother went to USF. I watched a decent amount of USF football because we're always talking about it. This was, I think, this game and the Alabama game 2 years ago when Bama was messing around with Bench and Milroe and all that, 2 best defensive games I've seen them play. This one arguably better. They were so on assignment in this game, more than I've seen. That's I'm glad we get to preview that USF Florida game. That's going to be a fun one. That'll be a fun one.
So my most impressive has to be Byron Brown in this one. So we mentioned it right there. Maddox Madsen is a quarterback who's a complementary quarterback. He can complement other parts of an offense. He's not a quarterback who can carry an offense. Byron Brown, that is a quarterback that can carry a Group of 5 offense right there. A 91.3 PFF grade in the win for him, 81.1 passing grade, 83% adjusted completion rate, 2 big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays, 85.3 rushing grade for Byron Brown, too, with 70 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 36 yards after contact. He is making his case right now as the best quarterback in the Group of 5, and it looks like USF is going to be in contention for not only an American title, but also a playoff spot too. And the biggest reason why is Byron Brown is a stud for that team.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason, because we've even seen it in big games, 2 games against Alabama, even the Miami game last year that they did get blown out, but they got blown out because Cam Ward shredded their defense. That's what he does. Byron Brown, when he's healthy, and that's a big thing, he's a physical player. We saw it. You want an example on our grading scale of what a +2 run looks like on the +2, -2 scale? It's that touchdown run for Byron Brown that got called back on holding. He broke 5 tackles.
That was like a Marshawn Lynch run right there.
Legitimately, like Byron Brown, especially with his legs against any team. We saw it against Alabama the last 2 years. Capable of carrying this offense and being the center of the universe here at Ray J for USF. Really interesting game next week against Florida, because I want to see if the improvement in their secondary is real against DJ Lagway and those guys. They don't have a lot of – I believe they'll be able to play up in the run game, actually, in the trenches with their front 7. It's their secondary. I want to see that battle with their secondary against Lagway. If they don't give up too many home runs, they can stay in that game, and we've seen him do it before. They just need Byron Brown healthy for a whole season, because he takes so many hits and he just gets dinged up, and he ended last year on the bench because he was hurt. If he's healthy all 12 games, it's a real threat.
Before we move on, and hand up, we both got these wrong. Boise State will not make the playoff this year. We got that wrong. Before we move on, though, I want you, if you could revise your playoff bracket right now, who will be your Group of 5 playoff team in the playoff after 1 week?
I'm cheating.
If you could change it right now.
Right, I'm cheating this because it's 1+ week. I'm actually gonna stay in the Mountain West with Dan Mullen and UNLV.
Interesting. Okay.
And they did not look great against Idaho State week 1. They looked better this week against Sam Houston. As long as the defense is solid. We're going right. We're going right to the standouts. Can we just go right to the standouts?
Well, I'll say real quick.
You do yours. I'm gonna Dan Mullen and UNLV. He's got that offense figured out, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
I'll go with Memphis. I still think USF's got a shot to win that conference, and I definitely do. But I think Memphis and Tulane, I think it will come from the American this year. I'm going to say Memphis, who was my pick preseason to win the American. I love Brendan Lewis, the new quarterback they got there. I love what Ryan Silverfield's doing in that program. They were 11-2 last year, number 24 in the final AP poll last year too. I'll go with Memphis, but USF has absolutely got a case now. But the only problem is USF is 10-2, losing to Florida and Miami. Maybe it'll be enough, considering those are two top 10 to 15 teams in the country right now, but I don't know. We'll see.
I want to check Memphis' schedule real quick. Tulane, look, big win over Northwestern. 2 more out-of-conference games against Duke and Ole Miss. Find a way to win one of those, too. And we're talking about Tulane in the same fashion. Memphis, so the only thing with Memphis is they don't have – they do. They host Arkansas week 4. Big game.
It's a big one.
I want to see who else. This is going to be a big thing. Who else can win a Power 4 game to show you can improve? You can do it. You can prove that. Memphis, especially the rivalry right at the border there, that's going to be a fun one. Memphis and Arkansas.
You'll go with UNLV. I'll say Memphis. If we could revise it, of course we did get it wrong. We're not saying we're going to go back and change our picks, but if we could revise it, I'll say Memphis. Dalton will go with UNLV. I feel like this will be a weekly segment. It's like, okay, who's your new Group of 5 playoff team? Because it's just every single week.
It's as chaotic as the top of the rankings, that's for sure.
The same for the national title pick, probably, too. Same every week. Who can change it now? All right, before we wrap up the show, the segment we're going to do now is our 3 standouts of the week. So guys or units outside of the games that we covered already that really stood out in week 1. Don, who stood out to you first?
All right, I'm keeping the Group of 5 theme going here, and I think I'll go back to Dan Mullen and his UNLV Rebels. And look, we were wondering what the quarterback battle would look like between Anthony Calandria, the Virginia transfer, and Alex Orji, the Michigan transfer, and it is decisively Anthony Calandria. And he looks really, really good. Absolutely tore up Sam Houston this week. He was really good last week. 19-23 this week, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 big-time throws, also a rushing touchdown through 2 games for UNLV, 92.7 PFF grade. Big game this week at home against UCLA. We saw how UCLA just looked, especially in run defense. UNLV can really run the ball, A, even with Calandria at quarterback, and B, with Jaden Thomas and those guys in the backfield. UNLV's a dangerous team, and I think they got the pick at quarterback right because Calandria gives them balance. He gives them the ability to throw the ball as well. He's been spectacular through 2 games. UNLV's offense has been terrific. Defense we got to work on. We're going to find out this week. You got Nico Yamaliava coming to town. He looks good, although the rest of the UCLA team not as much. Huge game for them. Huge game for them. They beat UCLA, especially with this offense they have in Calandria with his 2 years of Power 4 experience. We got to talk about Dan Mullen and the Rebels a little bit
definitely.
more.
So I'm going to cheat here, and you actually pre-show got mad at me. You said you could have left me one of these guys, and I took all of them. So I'm sorry for that. I'm going to go with the true freshman quarterbacks that we saw on Saturday.
Oh, go ahead and name all of them. Go ahead. Please, go down the list. I'll be here all day. Go down the list.
You're like, dude, you could have given me one of these guys. Like, yeah, actually, I probably could have.
You and your 5-star prospects. Go ahead. No,
well, you don't believe stars matter, so I don't think you deserve to get any of these guys.
Maybe you're right.
So I'll start off with the guy who had the most eyes on him in week 1 as one of the highest rated quarterbacks ever, Bryce Underwood. He looked the part against New Mexico. 79.9 PFF grade. 21 for 31, 251 yards and touchdown, 83% adjusted completion rate. Only average time to throw of 2.2 seconds, too. Really quick average time to throw for Bryce Underwood. Gets it out lightning speed. Big test next week. Biggest game of the week against Oklahoma on the road. Always has a strong defense, and Brent Venables excited to preview that game too. But good showing from Bryce Underwood in week 1. Malik Washington at Maryland, 73.6 passing grade in a win over your FAU Owls right there.
Thanks.
258 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 big-time throws. Barrett Bachmeier at BYU, 3 touchdown passes against Portland State on only 11 attempts too. It's a pretty efficient night for Barrett Bachmeier. However, nobody, and I mean nobody, was better this week than Cal quarterback Jaron Kayawe Sangapalutela. You better learn that name right now because he was a superstar in their win over Oregon State. 95.5 passing grade for the true freshman in his first career game against Oregon State. 5 big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays, 20 for 30, 235 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the road, too, over Oregon State. This kid who won this job over Devin Brown, a lot of people were shocked by that, too. I think he's like a top 5 or so quarterback out of high school, we might be talking about a future superstar in Jaron Kayave Sangapolutele.
Holy smokes. I mean, man, people were worried about Cal after Fernando Mendoza transferred out and their offensive line.
They might have upgraded. I'm going to whisper that because I know that a lot of people love Fernando Mendoza. They might have upgraded a quarterback. Cal did.
You got to relax. You're just saying things.
I know people have Fernando Mendoza as a top 10 pick, but Cal may have upgraded. I'll put it out there right now.
This kid, I mean, just silly. And even underneath, I mean, I just, boy, all of a sudden, you get a quarterback like that. And I know it's one game, but it's not like Oregon State's a horrible football team. They're still, I guess, technically Power 5, Pac-2, whatever you want to say. But he's the one. And there's a lot of big-time stories there. Malik Washington at Maryland had given them some hope. Bryce Underwood, obviously. Big thing. I love that you mentioned the time to throw. That's the word for me with Bryce Underwood, decisive. Yeah. Love that. Looks like he understands the offense. Bear Bachmeier. BYU ran the ball a lot, but Bachmeier's going to play a role in that too. But Sangapolutele, I mean, he was dropping dimes everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he was making legit, not just in his game, but some of the best throws we saw all week. Mm-hmm. And he's got an absolute rifle. If Cal's going to sling the ball deep like that with him making dropping dimes like this.
Yeah, 5 big-time throws, man. That's
in your first game.
95.5 passing.
I mean, that's not an FCS team he's playing either. It's not like Oregon State. I mean, this is a
Power 4 team 2 years ago.
He just came out there and let it fly.
Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely dealing. It was crazy.
Yeah.
First game. All of a sudden, Cal's, and keep in mind, what is it, committed to Cal, then went to Oregon.
And
then transferred back to
Cal. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm Oregon right now. I know we got Dante Moore, but I might have found some money to keep that guy. Because all of a sudden, Cal's they might have a monster at quarterback. He just put on a show.
I mean, I know again, this is high praise considering it's one game, but Cal had 2 number 1 overall picks at quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers went to Cal, and Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick from Cal too. And again, 8 NFL draft? Yeah, 2028 NFL draft potentially.
We're looking ahead.
It's a name to watch. It's a name to watch right now after that one kind of game.
That's some first impression he made.
Absolutely. All right, who's your next standout for you?
All right, I'm going to stay in a group of 5. I'm staying with it. You know what? I think it's a good story, especially with so few Power 4 teams playing each other. I'm going to go with a team that actually absolutely murdered my my upset pick with because I had Northwestern over Tulane. And this Tulane secondary, man, I knew their front 7 was good. Their secondary is awesome, too. Yeah. They picked off Preston Stone 4 times in this game, 3 in the first half, really set the tone. 86.9 coverage grade as a team. I thought this was going to be a low-scoring game, and it was, especially on one side. But this Tulane defense, and look, Jake Retzloff looked pretty comfortable considering he's been there for like 30 days on offense. But this Tulane defense is a problem. They got guys in the front 7, but you look at Kevin Adams, 89.5 coverage rate, interception. Jaheim Johnson, 88.8 coverage rate, interception, 3 pass breakups. Javion White, 2 interceptions. I mean, Tulane, I questioned what their offense was going to be. It is a work in progress. I like the way that Jake Retzloff looked. We're going to get better there offensively. But this defense, we talked about USF and Byron Brown being a problem on offense and maybe even their defense as well. But this Tulane defense, they've got ballers, and their secondary, first of all, thanks for absolutely murdering my upset pick. Second of all, I questioned it. I did, honestly, going into this game, I questioned Tulane. I wasn't entirely sure. They lost a lot of pieces from a really good team last year. Now they're going to contend. They're going to contend in the American, and I'm curious. They got a South Alabama game this week, and then playing Duke and Ole Miss back-to-back. Same thing. You win one of those 2 games also, especially with Darian Mensah coming back to Tulane. I can't wait for that one. But Tulane on defense, they're just shutting it down against Northwestern and Preston Stone. Really impressive stuff.
Let's talk about my Penn State Indy Lions right here. We didn't talk about them because obviously they took care of business against Nevada. But Denai Dennis-Sutton against Nevada was unfreaking blockable in this game. A 95.9 grade for Denai Dennis-Sutton against Nevada. 97.3 run defense grade for DDS. 87.1 pass rush grade. He had 2 forced fumbles and 4 defensive stops in this game. He also had 4 pressures, a sack, a quarterback hit, on only 10 pass rushing snaps too. He was legit unblockable in this game against Nevada. Nevada really missed Isaiah World out there. I'll tell you that much right there. Denai Dennis-Sutton playing the way he did. And yes, I get it. It was Nevada. But still, Denai Dennis-Sutton is a guy that a lot of people think could be a top 20 first-round pick in this year's NFL draft. He keeps playing like that, he could be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, the tools he has too. So Denai Dennis-Sutton Penn State, after having, 2 straight edge rushers in the first round and Chop Robinson and Abdul Carter, they might have a third and deny Dennis Sutton.
If you're going to be a first-round talent and you're playing teams like that, you better play like that. And Penn State obviously took care of business, like you mentioned, 46-11 for the first time ever. But no, Dennis Sutton, I mean, he's a huge piece, and it's certainly a defensive end factory there at Penn State, and they've got another one.
Absolutely. Who's your final standout of the week?
All right, third one. I'm going to go with a guy who actually lost this game, but I don't think it was at all his fault. And look, Max, he's, as you've told me, he's Timothy Chalamet's quarterback, which means he's America's quarterback.
Ball knower.
Parker Navarro from Ohio. The Bobcats lost a tight one to Rutgers, but it wasn't because of him. They were down 14 late in this game. Navarro brought him back to a tie game, and really the reason Ohio lost this game was because their secondary just couldn't cover. Rutgers got a pretty good group of receivers, couldn't cover those guys in big moments. But Parker Navarro continuing what he did for the MAC champions the second half of last year, 89.7 PFF grade in this game, 239 passing, 93 rushing, 4 total touchdowns. I mean, just if he's throwing I thought he threw the ball better in this game than he did at almost any point last year. He does that. Ohio's got a real chance to win the MAC again, to repeat as champions. And look, they're another one. We're looking for my upset pick this week. They're hosting West Virginia this week, and West Virginia took care of business against an FCS opponent in Rich Rod's first game, but a dangerous team. You're playing this Ohio team with Parker Navarro playing this well. One to give him credit, even in a losing effort. He was certainly
he was on fire.
He was on fire. Absolutely. That's a dangerous game for West Virginia going to Athens to play them. We
were actually at a bar during that game. You and I were watching the USF-Boise State game, and I remember it was the huge TV was USF-Boise State, and then the smaller one had Parker Navarro in Ohio. We were watching that one. Like, dude, Parker Navarro's dicing up Rutgers right now.
Killing it right now. He is a good football player, and before the season I had him as the best offensive player in the MAC. That's showing early. Yeah. He's really good. That West Virginia does not have a cakewalk this week going into Athens and playing them.
So shout out Timothy Chalamet for knowing ball, because Parker Navarro was a star against Rutgers in that unfortunate loss for the Bobcats. My final one is also a guy who lost this week, but Robert Henry Jr., the running back from UTSA, he was fantastic against Texas A&M this week. He had 16 carries for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns against a top 20 opponent in Texas A&M. And Dalton, a team in Texas A&M, they pride themselves on run defense. Mike Elko's entire defense is built around stopping the run. They could not stop Robert Henry in this game. He averaged over 11 yards per carry against Texas A&M, 106 yards after contact, averaging 6.6 yards after contact per attempt. He had a 75-yard touchdown run on the first play of the second half, another touchdown run in that game too. He ran all over a top 20 team, and you and I both thought a top 15 team. You had them in the playoff, Texas A&M, this year too. He almost alone had Texas A&M on the ropes in that game. Yes, Texas A&M went on to win that game pretty comfortably, but there was a moment where you and I were looking at each other like, A&M's in trouble right now against UTSA. And you had UTSA in your American title game. Robert Henry Jr. is a star for that offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, UTSA, they can really score. And this game was in doubt for quite a while. This was a tight game late into the third quarter. UTSA, obviously, Texas A&M's weapons took over the game, which was good to see. You talk about, I think Concepcion had a punt return touchdown. Mario Craver had a really, really good game. But no, I'll tell you what, have we mentioned 4 different teams in the American already?
Yeah.
And plus, not even Navy got there. They took care of business this week. That's a conference that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But no, Robert Henry with a big time game. If he gives Owen McCown and that offense some balance, they're going to be really good too.
Definitely. All right, that wraps up our standouts of the week. Want to real quickly update our upset picks of the week. We all unfortunately missed our upset picks. Southern Miss lost 34-17 to Mississippi State. Northwestern lost 23-3 to Tulane, and Toledo lost 24-16. So we'll see if we can do better in week 2. But
Yeah, I think, and several of these games, the Northwestern one was tougher with the interceptions, but your guys' 2 games, they were closer for a while.
Yeah.
They looked solid. They were defensive.
Right idea, right process, just wrong result.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you get. Toledo, I think, is the one that covered, so maybe we're not giving bonus points here, but Eli, nice job on Toledo at least covering. That was solid.
Yep. He says thank you.
You're
back
welcome.
There. Yeah, I know that earpiece is in this week. Dawn, we actually have 2 grade release shows this week. So this is actually, usually our next live show is our preview show. But with 2 absolutely massive games today featuring 3 top 15 teams, we need to do a great release show tomorrow too.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the 2 games being played Sunday college football. Gotta love it. South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Notre Dame, Miami, going down there to Miami, 2 massive games. I think especially look on one side, you look at South Carolina and some of the vulnerability we see in the SEC. Take advantage of the big win in week 1. That's big time for your at-large hopes. And then Notre Dame, Miami, it doesn't get any better than that.
No.
Carson Beck's first game in Miami. Notre Dame, the national runner-up with
top
a loaded
10 matchup,
defense.
yeah.
First start for C.J. Carr. You're going to have 2 really good football games today, and we get to review them again tomorrow.
Absolutely. And, of course, usually on the grade release show, we also release our top 25. We didn't do it today because we still have 2 games between, 3 top 15 teams, too. We will do our top 25 tomorrow on the live show, which will probably be 1 p.m., I would imagine.
Yes, that's what we're going with.
Okay, yeah, so 1 p.m., the live show tomorrow. Grade release show for those 2 games and releasing our top 25 going into week 2. Do you want to tease the games that we're going to do on Tuesday for our preview show, too?
Well, of course I do. Max, what else would I do here at the end of a fun grade release show? Look, we're previewing 9 games this week, all right? We got some really fun ones. Illinois and Duke, ACC Big Ten matchup that I'm really excited for. Darian Mensah, really his first big game against a really good Illinois defense. That's going to be fun. Baylor and SMU. Baylor going to bounce back, we think? Got to find out. Tough game, and now you're playing a playoff team from last year in SMU, going to their house. That's going to be a lot of fun. Baylor doesn't want to start 0-2. As always, we've got another in-state rivalry, Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa got a win yesterday. Iowa State's already 2-0. They look good yesterday as well. That's always a fun rivalry. Kansas and Missouri, I think, is a fun out-of-conference. That's another team, 2-0 Kansas.
Big rivalry, too. That's been dead for a while,
The old Big 12 rivalry, yeah. Kansas and Missouri. Jalen Daniels raging hot through 2 games. Bo Perbula, your guy, looked pretty good in week 1. We'll see if he can do it against the Power 4 team, right? The big game of the week. Bryce Underwood and the Wolverines going down to Oklahoma to play John Mateer. Again, both 2 teams that took care of business this week, 2 great defenses. And I'll tell you what, Bryce Underwood versus Brent Venables, prime time. John Mateer versus Wink Martindale. Prime time. Gotta love it. Michigan, Oklahoma, Saturday night. Rematch from last year. Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech. This time at Virginia Tech. In Virginia Tech, and they're going to be playing a day short, a tough game today.
True, yeah.
Against a tough team in Vanderbilt. Can Vanderbilt beat them for the 2nd year in a row? We mentioned before, USF in Florida. Don't fall for the trap, Gators. Byron Brown and that team, they're dangerous. They've kept close in big games before. Ole Miss going down to Kentucky for their first SEC game. Kentucky got a tough win over Toledo. Ole Miss took care of business. And then finally, Arizona State, Mississippi State. Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson looked really good late last night. Mississippi State with a big win over Southern Miss, obviously looked a little bit better on defense in that game. We're going to be looking for that against Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson. But we got 9 good games for you this week, bouncing around the country a lot too.
Love
I think.
it.
Like we're covering all corners out here.
So shout out Drake Holiday in the chat. He's always a loyal supporter of the show. He said, no talk about Arizona State tearing up the elite Northern Arizona Lumberjack defense. But we didn't talk about that much, obviously, in this show, but we will talk about them a lot.
We got him on Tuesday because you know what? Maybe. I mean, Jeff Levy, look, that Southern Miss game was tough for Mississippi State early on, and they took the game over. Fluff Bothwell in the backfield, Blake Shapen healthy. The offense looked a little better. Maybe you get yourselves in a shootout with the Sun Devils. That'll be fun.
But that will not be our next show, because our next show will be tomorrow, breaking down 2 massive games between number 13 South Carolina and Virginia Tech in Atlanta, and the big one tonight, number 6 Notre Dame at number 10 Miami. Again, tomorrow will be our live show at 1 p.m., breaking down those 2 games in their entirety and also revealing our top 25 on this show too. We are finally back here on the PFF College Football Show. Cannot wait for an awesome 2025 season. And based on week 1, it will be a wild one this year. For our producers back there and Eli and Tyler, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our grade release show for South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and for Notre Dame, Miami.